Okay, all right, Josh. Now take the numbers off.
They're not up there.
All right.
It was funny at first. It was kind of distracting from the episode.
Move the number.
You guys now it's animated. Now it's animated. That's
the spiral count's kind of like breaking it down.
They're dancing.
No, they're dancing. You know how long this episode wouldn't come out till next Halloween if I had to do all this.
Go spiral. Go spiral.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Volume 1, the animated manga podcast where we review the first volume of a brand new manga each week. My name is Josh Uzumaki Naruto Michaels. And today, as always, I am joined by
Megan Snail Perrine.
Cody, my life, Decker.
Oh.
Because it's spiraling.
Oh.
Yeah. I wrote that down. You wrote that one down.
Thank you for tuning into another episode. Today we are going to be discussing not just volume 1 of Uzumaki, but all 3 volumes of Uzumaki. Uzumaki in its entirety. To celebrate the Halloween festivities.
And for Halloween, I had to bust out this voice.
Oh, you're doing it in the spirit of Halloween.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone.
Don't
I feel like there
apologize.
is a spooky character who has a cracky voice like that.
Yeah, maybe one from this manga.
Possibly.
Before we get started with today's episode, though, I do want to let you know that we are obviously available in audio form on iTunes and Spotify. And if you're on iTunes, even if you don't use iTunes, leave us a review. It helps us out a lot. We have a couple haters out there, and I'm not going to dwell on them for too long. But, they've decided to leave us a negative review or two. And so you leaving a review, leaving a little comment will actually help us a lot in raising our overall average. And so if you did that, it would truly mean the world to us. Not only that, but if you are a Patreon member and you're sticking around for the Patreon episode that we're going to be recording right after this, we're going to be doing more Halloween stuff.
Ooh.
Well, you can't even.
We're going to be talking
Spooky.
about episode 1 of Miruko-chan, the anime that just came out. We did a volume 1 review on it a long time ago, but the anime just dropped. We all watched it together, and so we're going to be discussing that. And we're also going to be doing a little bit of a, trick-or-treat candy ranking. And we might, if we have some time left, do a little bit of world building as well. Cody? But enough of the housekeeping. Let's just jump into what we're talking about today. Uzumaki, we've gotten so many comments, so many requests, so many people asking us, are we going to cover this? When are we going to cover it? And we're saving it for this time specifically. Every time we thought about doing it, we thought we got to wait till Halloween.
Gotta wait till Spooktober. Classic Volume 1 Spooktober.
Have to. So I didn't know really any plot details. I knew obviously that there's one panel from this series that's on every shirt in Hot Topic.
Yeah, every girl has a tattoo of this.
That
panel.
too.
Yeah, I recognized the thing from like a meme. It's like my mind is full of the F word.
And you know what's crazy?
My mind is full of duck.
Farts?
Duck.
Oh.
You know what's crazy too is that having read the series in its entirety, what an odd panel to be on every shirt and every tattoo and.
Well, if you really think about it, it symbolizes the character and who she was.
But
who
I always
she became.
I always thought that was the main character. I always thought she was the main character.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
And she's just some side hoe.
But it's a
Side
thing that
hoe.
like on its own, that image just works.
Mhm.
Like you don't need to know that's from something. Like, oh, that looks cool.
Yeah.
So you guys didn't know much about it going into it, plot details?
I had no idea.
All I knew is I didn't find Ito's stories particularly spooky.
Mm.
They always just seemed like, yeah, I guess that would be messed up, huh?
Yeah.
But at the end of this one, it like genuinely got this, like it was interesting, the feeling it set in. But it took reading all 3 volumes.
Yep.
Had I just read the first one, I would have been like, I don't get Japanese horror, I guess.
Mm.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I felt the exact same way. It was this feeling that settled in after.
It was I think the fear it capped was like the dread of inevitability
And helplessness, I would say.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and hopelessness,
Yeah.
and it like you really just like feel yourself sitting in it for like a couple minutes.
Which is crazy because I didn't necessarily feel that way while I was reading it. But the moment it ended and I got up and left.
You're like, I'm in a different mental state.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So our experience with Junji Ito is, I think all of us have probably had the same experience. We've all only read Shiver.
Yeah.
Or Shiver is what it was called.
Yeah.
Which is a collection of short stories written by Junji Ito. And I mean, in that episode, we also talked about how a lot of them didn't feel necessarily scary, but they were eerie, or they were strange, or they were odd. But there was one story in that collection in particular about the guy that was like the dreamer.
Oh yeah.
Or something that was Lovecraftian.
Yeah, that
some
was
of his
great.
stories feel like.
There was one like scene from this that was like, oh, that's genuinely horrifying. Because a lot of it was like while reading it, being like, okay, like I'm having difficulty taking this seriously. There was one scene that was like, oh, that's genuinely scary. But then like as I finished it, I then thought about the story, and it made it scary. Like after finishing it, then when I was in that mental place, when I remembered what happened in the beginning, then I was like, oh, like the story became like much scarier overall.
I do want to say too that first of all, I did not go to McDonald's today, and I just want to say that. But I did eat something while I was reading this, and it wasn't until I started eating that I became grossed out. Does that make sense? Like I was probably like 2 volumes in, and there was a lot of body horror and just crazy stuff, and I was like, this doesn't faze me at all. And then I started eating something, and I don't want to really talk about what.
From McDonald's.
No, that sounds worse if I don't say what it was.
Yeah, I won't say what it is. I was eating something.
And then all of a sudden, like it was right around and I'll be vague for this portion of the episode, but it was around and funny that you do that because it was around the pregnancy.
Yeah. That was the thing. I was like, oh, this is genuinely horrifying, and this like everything is disgusting, and I felt gross.
Yeah, I do like the way.
Megan, the people are gonna love it, dude.
I do like the way how Junji Ito really displays like odd human behavior. Like not in like just like the whole scope of the story. Like even when they're not, really scary or like not trying to be like graphic, like just like the way they act towards each other, and like later on in the story, like everyone's kind of like in the same boat. It's like genuinely like gross. Like
I think you hit on something when you said just like the subtleties. Like there's just weird things that are slightly out of character for any normal human being.
Yeah.
And it's those things that are just so. It's like maybe an uncanny valley of characteristics, I guess. But it's just like it's just like off-putting. Like
a little off.
Yeah, it's a little off, and that's scarier.
It also with that happening and how people reacted, which is why I thought it was like just a comedy, right? Because all of it like read to me so much like a comedy until I got to like the hospital part. So much of it was just people being like, oh, all right, well, and how like just one guy is like,
it was like,
does no one care? And you just see him get worse throughout the show, and I'm like, that's funny.
Megan showed me and Cody this the live action adaptation. It exists, and it came out in like either the 90s or the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And funny enough, it for a movie adaptation of an anime series, like it holds up pretty well. I mean,
I can't imagine they do the ending though.
No, they don't. They cut out they cut out the ending. They cut out the girl with the spiral, her whole storyline. They cut out the pregnancy.
Which is like crazy.
They cut out pretty much like a lot of stuff. They cut out a lot of stuff, but they have
pretty much a lot of stuff.
They cut up pretty much everything.
They cut out a lot of stuff.
And you know what they did too that they that I wasn't necessarily a fan of is that they like rearranged a lot of the story, like in a major way. But my point of bringing it up and saying that it holds up is like the effects and the casting and a lot of the horror like holds up. I think in the and it's available for free on YouTube. So if you've never seen it, or if you're looking for something to show your friends or watch at a Halloween party, throw on.
If you want a movie where people go like, "What the fuck?"
This guy's interesting.
This guy gets it.
Yeah.
This guy kind of gets it and gets it, dude.
And he's gonna get it.
And he's gonna get it tonight.
After this party, he's a good
guy.
So put it on.
Yeah, so definitely put it on. So I mean, I guess like, do you have anything else you want to say before we start really going through it?
This is I mean, it's only 3 volumes, but it's like you have to read all 3 to like to for the story to happen.
And what an
Because-
easy read too. I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's only 16 chapters, but it's like if you just read the first volume, it's
Yeah.
only 16 chapters, but it's like if you just read the first volume, it's like that's not going to get like the feeling that's going to happen is like spiraling into it. And that's, so it's like you start off with like pretty easy. And I do think humorous because the author is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like as it goes in, the more serious and horrifying it gets.
Well,
Like
yeah.
some sort of
Spiral.
Oh my God.
And not like the dragon.
Spyro.
Mm-hmm.
spiral the horror.
Spiral the horror dragon.
The horror.
And with that,
Horror dragon. Well, I do want to say real quick too, yeah, I would also recommend reading all of it. It's an easy read, 19 chapters. It's not that long. Well, if I did have like, first of all, in its entirety, I thought it was a very well told story, and I did walk away from it feeling different. And I was put in a mood, and a very like maybe even like I don't know. I was put in a very strange headspace moments after reading it, but also it does feel episodic in a sense that like it got to a point where it started to feel repetitive in the sense that like the formula felt like it had become, we're going to meet this wacky character in this town. And then by the end of the chapter, they're going to somehow succumb to this spiral.
and you're like, I don't like reading like how are spirals possibly going to come into play here? Like
Yeah.
I think it's episodic, and then the final volume is where the story
Absolutely.
ends, and that's why it's like easy to like view it in a funny way because it's so much of it is just like of the same people. It's not even like it's the same people being like, oh yeah, like your classmate is like spirals now, and they're like them too.
I mean,
They got spiraled?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
so
to
many
the
people get
point-
spiraled. And they're like, should we like okay?
it's to the point where like, dude, if one of my classmates in high school turned into a snail, I would ask my teacher like, we're not coming to school tomorrow, right?
Yeah, no.
But the town still functions.
the
as
town
if-
is like, dude, did you hear last week? Tony got spiraled.
He got spiraled. Yeah, he.
Yeah.
Yeah, that girl he was really into. She.
Mhm.
I was gonna make a joke about him getting sucked in to her
Yeah, I wrote that down.
face. yeah. And I was gonna
wrote
make
down
a
she
suck
sucked him to
joke.
death. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck, and there it is. Yeah.
Damn.
Fuck. Should have let you just
Yeah.
have it. But yeah, dude, and I thought of that, and I thought like, okay, well maybe the whole town is under the influence of the spiral.
Which
They-
at the end it becomes clear that is what's happening.
Yeah.
'Cause they
After. Oh, sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
no,
Go ahead.
finish your story.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Cody.
Okay. Because the main character mentions that he goes to a school out of town,
Yes.
so it's like okay, this exists in a Lovecraftian setting with like a, I don't know, perception effect on people to just accept what's happening.
Mhm.
And the reason he comes across as like the only sane person is he is.
Mhm.
Because he's not in that town enough to like be fully like brainwashed.
Yeah.
Were
And
you gonna say something?
yeah, did you have something you wanted to add to that, Megan?
I literally forgot.
Oh,
Wow, that's unfortunate. We'll never know.
Might
I
come
also
back to me.
to just because this is 3 volumes and this is just one episode. I wanted us to go through it fairly quickly because it is episodic. Like we can linger on chapters that we really like, but we might, if we skip something or don't mention something, I mean,
There's a lot of
It's a lot to talk
spiral
about
talk.
and-
There's
yeah.
a lot of I love spirals.
There's-
You see
yeah.
that spiral over there? Like it's a lot
this
of that.
spiral, it was made for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of
This
interesting
spiral,
things.
it's made of me.
Oh shit!
That was better. And
that was better.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
because this hole, it was made for me.
Yeah.
That spooky one where there's like holes.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Where
yeah,
people
yeah.
walk into holes and you're
The more you explain it, the more I like it.
hey, it's good.
Yeah.
That's why you have to take that risk.
Yeah, it is a risk too.
Because what if they did get it?
Yeah, and then you just look like the fool.
They try to give you an out by saying, "No, I didn't quite get that. We could move on though."
Yeah, maybe they're just being nice.
Yeah.
Mm.
I wasn't though. I just want to give a quick synopsis. I know that most people probably already know what Uzumaki is about, but I was aware of it, but never quite knew details. And not that this is going to give away too many details, but it will at least give you some sort of context moving forward if you've never heard of or read the series before. So, and then obviously because we're covering the series in its entirety, we will give like a spoiler mark for when like the crazy stuff happens, just so that you can listen to a point and still enjoy the ending. So, the synopsis is a Japanese horror manga series written and illustrated by Junji Ito. Of course, the series tells the story of the citizens of this town, a fictional city, which is plagued by a supernatural curse involving spirals. And yeah,
That definitely needed.
just in case you didn't know.
A town is haunted by spirals.
And I'm sure you're thinking, how?
How on earth could
Yeah.
this possibly happen?
For 3 volumes, how could
Yeah.
this happen?
How could this happen?
I mean, it took a while for me to even accept it as
Me
like,
too.
as a legitimate
Me
concept.
too.
So
Like
many-
at the end of the dad whole thing, I was like, this fool really turned
Yeah.
Yeah.
into
I mean,
a fucking
him like
what?
I ordered. Oh, my package is in the mail, and I'm like, what did he order? I'm like, what do you mean he bought the thing that turned him into a spiral? He ordered that online.
Amazon. It really is to me like an exercise in taking a premise, a concept, and just saying like, how far can I stretch this baby out? You know, and it really because it really does get like more and more obscure. Like it's like, oh, spirals with this, spirals with hair, spirals in this, and it's just like at a certain point you're like, you're pushing it.
Yeah, it really reminded me of that feeling of like just watching the trailer for the number 23,
Oh,
and you're
yeah.
just like, but if you multiply it by this and subtract this number, it comes out to 23. You're like, sure.
Numerology is always so infuriating.
You know
to me.
what? If you add 1 to 419, what do you get?
I don't know. I'm not good at math.
If you add 1 to 4,
490.
you get 420.
Hey,
I knew that, by the way.
way.
I knew that I was just setting the joke up.
Oh,
It was adding one number.
yeah. You were like,
to
I don't know. I
another
can't do
number. You
math.
were like, I can't even entertain the idea.
Yeah,
of me
sometimes you ever
figuring
hear
that
a
out.
math problem and you don't even think of the numbers. You just think of math and you're like, not even gonna bother.
419 plus 1, and you couldn't even try.
No, I couldn't even bother.
Oh,
yeah, you didn't bother. You
That
said,
was
okay,
bothering.
next one.
No, I was like teeing Cody up for it.
mm,
You were
Anyway.
420ing Cody up.
Anyway,
Yes, sir.
That was not a yes, sir.
Well,
I didn't do it.
so basically, this story opens up in a town, and it's a town where we're meeting our main character, whose name is Megan. I thought you wrote
Something
it down.
with a K.
I thought you wrote it down. That's why I looked at you.
You put
You're
me on the
just setting her
spot.
up for.
No, I mean she
You
had
really am.
she had her notebook out, and she usually writes them down. And so I was just
Just give me a second.
main
Riff
character,
a little bit, huh?
the
Curious,
best
something.
glasses boy.
the best
Oh,
glasses
yeah.
boy, dude. The glasses boy that didn't cry wolf, who
Yes,
cried spiral,
yes, he.
or not really, because they actually were there.
Yeah,
So it's Kiri,
Kiri,
and Shu.
I can hear your voice get worse.
Shuichi and Kiri,
Yeah,
Uh,
Shuichi and Kiri. Yes.
and
I feel like they didn't cast the proper person in the live action
I feel like the live
For who?
action
for the glasses guy.
Oh, I mean, I just have to say this. Like Junji Ito, like he just draws the most beautiful women.
Yeah.
Like all of them just look so picturesque and so perfect. And then when they like put in these positions, he just makes them look so beautiful.
yeah, he really does.
I just wanted to say that.
and I think that's
Okay, yeah.
No, I think that's great to say too. I also think that like because he has such a realistic art style, or more realistic than maybe what traditional manga you would think of, that's why the casting was so easy. It was so easy to cast, or that's why the casting works so well. It's because these characters, the art already resembles real people in a lot of ways, and I think his art is amazing. And even in the sky, speaking of art, it does seem as if like maybe he was inspired by like Starry Night a little bit.
Which, yeah, when there was a scene where the clouds like all form spirals, like, oh, that's crazy that he only does that in one panel, and like they don't go back to having.
yeah.
Van Gogh famously was like, I know spirals.
Which led me to believe that maybe Junji Ito just saw that painting and was like, this would make a great story.
And for a while, the highlight, like the actual story that I found interesting, was his joke story at the end of every volume, where it's just like, it's me, the author, and I'm trying to figure out the secret of spirals. And it's like, I've never not found the writer's notes, like, they're always funnier than the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always
Yeah.
like when they're just like messing around, like, oh, that's hilarious.
Even at the point, and I think at the end of the second volume, when he says like, oh, we found the spiral guy and we're on a plane to go find him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, it was all a dream. And then in the third volume, he's like, remember when we did that? And he said like, oh, I thought his editor's like, I thought that was a dream. He's like, I thought like that was a bad punchline or something.
It was
like,
a dream punchline.
Yeah, he's like, no, it was a dream punch. It was a real punchline or whatever. It was so funny and so entertaining.
It wasn't a dream. It was a real.
Yeah. And just that was such a fun thing to include in the volume too. And even after, I mean, I guess like we can talk about it a little bit here now, so we can just spend the rest of the episode talking about Uzumaki, the actual story. But that final chapter,
no, the art on that too was like, oh, there's just splash pages.
Yeah, there was some times where I was like, this is like kind of berserk level
of art.
Like it kind of felt like that. So, like there was a specific panel where there was like about like the kiln arc where all of the souls and like are coming out of the kiln, and I was like, am I reading berserk right now? Okay, Junji Ito.
You're not gonna be able to talk about the end of this episode.
The Red Bull's helping my throat.
It's good for the throat.
It is good.
Coats the throat.
It helps the throat.
Okay. But yeah, so, and when I say final chapter, I don't mean the final chapter of Uzumaki. I mean the final chapter in this like complete edition, because what it seemed to me was that this was sort of an alternate sort of beginning to what the story of Uzumaki could have been, or maybe it is a story that is taking place in the next cycle.
I lean more towards, we can talk about it at the end.
Okay.
But like, and it's called The Lost Chapter too. So it's, I think it was also just, you see authors who's like, oh, here's like an alternate idea I had just to kickstart this story.
Okay. So, and like I said, we're going to power through it. We're going to get through these chapters as fast as we can. And if there's a story in particular that we really want to dwell on, we will dwell on it. So,
but how this all gets started is that girl sees a guy staring at a snail and she's just like, oh, well.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Can't look at snails apparently anymore. Jesus.
It was funny that freaked her out.
Because
he's just looking at it.
Other things happen and she's just like, I guess we gotta.
I guess it's the spiral.
It's the spirals.
She's like, nothing else you can do about it.
Maybe they're just sick.
They're acting weird when, like, what do you mean weird?
They're twisting their spine 360 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah. She even mentions, like, I didn't really see that when it happened. I'm like, how do you not see that?
Yeah. How are you not paying attention when any of this stuff is
People
happening?
react at most of like, oh, why are you doing that? Like, what do you mean? Why they turned into a monster?
Yeah, and then I mean and again, that's why I kept having over and over again to myself go like, it's the spell of the spiral, because there's no other explanation for why no one is reacting the way I would be reacting. But yeah, it starts with the snail and the story of her and her boyfriend, and it's her boyfriend's father who she sees looking at the snail. And
he's just like, he's just been really into spirals lately.
And like you said, he goes out of town, or he goes to school out of town, so he's not as affected. But when he comes back, he's obviously like, there's a weird vibe here.
He feels it immediately.
Yeah. And it's true, because we get a beautiful 2-page spread pretty much, in the very beginning of his dad in his like workshop or whatever, with like spiral stuff everywhere.
Yeah, it was a really goofy start for me, just trying to take it seriously.
Yeah, same. I was like, okay, once you got into it, you're like, okay, it's just, again, this spiral.
Yeah, it's like he's been so like, I saw your dad looking at a snail. He's like, oh yeah, it's because he like loves spirals.
Well, what's crazy too is that she started laughing.
Yeah. She's like, what do you mean?
In universe, she started laughing. And he was like, it's not funny. And she was like, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, like this isn't an issue people have. And then you see him, you're like, oh, yeah, what could be happening to him? Yeah.
And they also go out of their way to mention that her father is a potter, which becomes a very big plot point. And he is a he is a potter. And so
what is this? Freaking Hogwarts?
That's I was hoping you were gonna say that.
You're so dumb, Bulldor.
Oh,
Snape.
Wow. I'm having a Ravenclaw myself out of this hole right now.
Okay. Yeah, you did it. You did it.
Because I was in a hole.
Yeah.
Okay, we all did it, Megan. We all did it. You don't get like a second go.
This isn't round 2.
And why would you? Like, you killed it the first time, and you're like risking it again?
Which you never.
Every time so much fun.
Every time you risk the second go.
Yeah, it's like, yes, the likelihood of you sticking the landing again.
I couldn't pass go a second time, so I had to go to jail. Is that it? Are you playing
Kinda,
Monopoly
actually,
now?
yeah.
Hey, you're in comedy jail.
Yeah. You're in
Bonk.
you're in this is the pun police, and we're taking
I've been
The
on the run
Punleys.
for years. You'll never fucking catch me, dude.
It's like catch me if you can.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Uzumaki.
There was
Uzumaki, spirals.
Spirals.
We're
Spirals.
this conversation.
We
spiraling.
honestly,
Yeah.
we're kind of spiraling.
Yeah, we got to get
Yeah.
through it. So basically, just to speed things up a little bit, the dad, Suichi's dad, asks Kiri's mom, Kiri's dad, to make him a pot with
I
a
need
spiral in it.
Give me
I
more
love that. He's
spirals.
like, you think you can make me like one of those, but like with a spiral? Like,
But with a
excuse me,
spiral.
Oh, well,
He's like, I
Could
can
you,
do
like-
other designs.
he goes, I can do whatever.
I just-
No, it's
give me
just
the-
like give me
Give me the spirals.
like looking behind his back. He's like, yes,
Don't tell my wife.
Don't tell my wife.
Yeah,
She
don't tell
hates
my
it.
wife. Yeah.
She hates it.
I mean, you know, wives.
Yeah.
No, wives, they don't get the spiral.
I don't get
They're not in
spirals.
spiral gang.
Spirals are a guy thing.
Yeah. Everyone knows that. She
Yeah.
wouldn't get it. Just have her, like secretly ship it to my house. Like, just,
Yeah. And that's kind of what happens. They don't ship it to his house, but Kiri goes and delivers it to him.
Yeah.
And that's when she sees the incident, the first like big,
The first
crazy,
spiral. It's
crazy weird thing, which is where, basically the dad has like slowly been spiraling and is freaking out because his wife threw out all of his spiral collection.
spiral collection.
Yeah, she was just basically like, fuck me.
your spirals.
No, like you
Oh.
haven't had sex with me.
Oh.
You're so obsessed with these spirals. Look at me.
Look at me. I'm here.
No, you're not spirals.
Yeah, you're not spirals.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
think
You'll never
you think
be
you can
spirals.
compete with spirals?
Yeah, you can't even get close.
Yeah. So
You
she
can't do what a spiral can do.
you
I mean,
Think about it. I don't know.
you find out that he like quit his job. Like he hasn't
So
been
you-
working. He's just been sitting in a room looking at spirals. She's like, honey, this is a plea for help. Like
Yeah.
you need
go
to go.
to where you can't stare at spirals all day.
And he's
Yeah.
just like, you know what? You're right.
He's like, you know what? You're right. I don't need spirals. Why? Because I am.
Because I'm spirals. And again, I'm just like, I don't get how this is a horror classic.
Yeah,
in the
because-
beginning,
Yeah.
because it was just like, I will become spirals. Like,
I will become spirals, and then his eyes just like start spinning.
He's like, I
around.
can make my own spirals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
look at me
yeah.
go. And
He should have put little nipple tassels on his eyeballs. You know what I mean?
Oh, hell
That
yeah.
that would have been awesome. I mean, he could have. I mean, talk
Well,
about needing
well-
money. He could have made a killing.
maybe it'll be in the anime.
Oh.
Maybe. Oh, coming out 2020 August.
2022.
You said
20, we're in 2021,
Oh,
dude.
Jesus Christ! What is time? Spiraling.
Spiraling.
Oh,
Uh,
spiraling.
Yes. So that happens.
just
That's
keep
the first
saying it.
incident where the eyes kind of go crazy. And
In
now,
front of the kids, because they're like,
Yeah.
how are you doing? Pa's like, I'm fine. Because I don't need those spirals. I am.
I am.
And then, yeah, you see him like, yeah, my package is here.
Yeah. And it's like the most weird thing. And first of all, Kiri's like finally for the first time, like, oh, I get it. This isn't funny.
Mhm.
And so they, leave and they go about their day and fast forwarding a little bit. I think it cuts to like narration of her saying like, and he died.
yeah,
The
yeah.
next day.
Because it just cuts to like
Yeah.
them at like a funeral.
Yeah.
You're always like, and then he just passed
And
on.
then
He
it shows
died
you what
late. He
happened.
died a couple days later.
Because they
Yeah.
found him. They were going to take him to an insane asylum or some sort of mental hospital. And they found him in this, round thing that he had bought online. And he had made himself into a spiral, which which is like as a concept silly.
commitment,
but, like-
dude.
but
like
the art-
commitment.
Yeah,
Like to your hobby, like to your art, like
Yeah.
to what you hold dear. Like he said, like loving spiral isn't enough. I need to make myself into one.
Mhm.
And I think you could really like respect that.
I mean, sure. I mean, you got to give him props for committing, like you said.
Yeah.
And it's much more scary knowing what the ending says about like what's happening. But even then, at the time, I'm like, yeah, that does look spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this-
But he's just like, look, I'm a spiral now. I'm like, okay.
See, and that's like the sort of double-edged sword, I guess, is that like again, visually, it is awesome, but narratively, or as a horror device, it's like goofy. At least when he's saying these things out loud. But anyway.
Because like I'm imagining someone saying this stuff out loud
yeah.
and just having to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
They-
I just love spirals now.
No, literally, I wrote like he turned himself into a spiral. Like I can't take this seriously. Like
Yeah.
it was at that point I was like, is this what we're doing?
I wonder then when
Like,
you
is
really
this what we're
started to take it more seriously, when it started to grab you.
Um,
Do you remember like a specific chapter?
I really liked the mosquito. Like that one was really cool. That's when I was like, okay. And then after that, when it went into the next chapter and it was continuing that story, I was like,
Yeah, I think that's for
that's
all
the
of us.
same, yeah.
It's that.
That's-
It's
it was
the
that moment, yeah.
Mosquito one.
Yeah. They're at the dad's funeral and they're cremating him, and the cremation smoke spirals. And then ends
Like
up,
it's the weather patterns.
Yeah,
Like, no, it's not.
nobody's reacting. Then he makes a face in the sky.
yeah.
And everybody's like, "That's your husband," and she's like, "Nah." And
No,
then
you guys are being weird.
yeah.
No, then she
how?
goes, oh yeah, that's my husband.
And then he goes, "Oh yeah," or
that's
she
my
goes, "Oh yeah."
husband.
And then it spirals into the pond that is called like
Dragonfly pond.
Fly Pond, and that's sort of how everything starts. The big event, and then they talk about other people dying later and other cremations happening, and it always going down to Dragonfly.
And the
Pond.
guy is always just like, I really want to leave this town. And I'm like, you should.
He's like, let's
He's
run
like-
away. She's like, no,
Yeah,
but I hate everything that's happening here. Let's run away. No,
he's like, please.
no, we
Oh.
have class tomorrow.
we have class tomorrow with our spiral schoolmates.
And then what really quickly happens, I mean, this guy really goes through it, the Suichi guy, in the first 2 chapters
Oh,
because his
yeah.
dad goes mad in the first chapter. Yeah. And then his mom, who is not the bomb, I just had to keep it going.
You got it.
She goes crazy because now she's, it does seem like it's infecting everybody's mind, where he was obsessed with the spirals and now
And now
he's dead.
Yeah, and then she's like having memories of him saying, "Join me in the spiral."
And she's cutting, like if she notices spirals on her fingerprints, so she'll burn them off.
Yeah, that was crazy. She cut them off.
Cut them off.
She literally went.
Mm-hmm. She'll notice them in anything in any part of her world or body. Like she will get rid of them, and then she sees like an anatomy
Which
chart.
jumped back to being goofy, where the son was just like, he sees the diagram, like, and she's like, "So, is there any part of the human body that would look like spirals?" And he's just like, "No."
Yeah, what a weird question. And then she sees the cloaca. There we
Pina
go.
colada.
Yes. Which also sometimes you could put a little whipped cream on top of those in the shape of a spiral. Spirals are everywhere. So she just
Don't say
jams that baby
Yeah.
out of her ear, or for the sake of speeding things up, fucking thing crawls in her ear. and then,
Centipede, which pops up a lot in Japanese horror because I think it represents corruption.
Probably, yeah.
Mm.
I know that from playing Bloodborne.
I'm gonna take your word for it.
Hiragiri.
And then
Also
she
secure.
goes crazy.
Yeah, she goes crazy, and then she gets vertigo, which is pretty much just like a mental spiral. Because you
Oh.
always feel like you're like this,
Yeah.
right?
Ooh.
And that was like, okay,
Oh, and because if you damage your ear,
Oh
you're
yeah.
off balance.
you lose your balance. So by attacking the spiral, she became spiral.
She became
She
spiral.
became
again.
spiral, and then it cut to her just like, and I shouldn't laugh at this. It is not funny. It is not funny. But there was one panel of her in the hospital bed, and it kind of looked like she was going to be okay, like she was going to get out of the hospital. And then the next panel was like her, like in full bandages, like her whole face and everything was wrapped up, and she was just like laying in the hospital bed. And it shouldn't be funny, but it was a little funny.
She's like, no.
Yeah, and she
because
died.
She died after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he has down 2 parents.
And he's like,
Yes.
I
Both the
really
spirals.
want to leave this town.
Yeah, he's like, can we please leave now?
Yeah, he's all messed up. He's not coming out the house. He's
Yeah,
not eating.
I wouldn't
Yeah, she's like, no, I have to go to school.
I was for sure that he was going to succumb to the spiral almost immediately after all of
Yeah,
so
and
far
there's
it's a
something-
family condition.
Yeah.
There's something that happens later that is so funny, and it goes into like the human behavior thing, because I'm like, no person would do that. Like reading social cues, like when they're eating at dinner, when she has them over for
the
dinner.
ramen.
Yeah, the ramen. No, and it's like not even just the ramen. The dad's like, oh, here is my spiral plate. Hope you enjoy. It's like
that
his whole
was just-
family
yeah.
died from
From
spirals. Like everyone knew in the town that this guy was
Yeah.
obsessed with spirals. You knew he's obsessed with spirals. His
No.
wife,
That was just mean.
that was just mean.
That
He
was
yeah,
just
I made
like
you
out
I
of
made you a
pocket.
spiral
Like
meal.
he was just fucking with
And
him.
the mom was like, really? we're doing this today, Dave.
Yeah,
Really? We're gonna do this again?
Really? And he's like, I think it looks cool. And it's like, yeah, you're
The
fucking.
daughter's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So funny.
And then, Suichi's going through it. And then, yes, speaking to your point about the dad starts spiraling. I'm going to keep saying that.
Can we get a count? Can we get a count? Can we have one person?
That's more work for me.
Oh my God. That'd be a lot.
Oh, so now you want it?
Yeah, actually, I wasn't on board at first.
Yeah.
But now
that it's on you.
No, nothing is up there.
Now that it's had time.
Nothing is up there. There's no graphics. There's no nothing.
Oh.
There's no nothing. No
What?
point to anything.
I mean.
Because it's not up there.
Because
we've put out a lot of episodes this week.
Oh, look at that one.
Oh,
Look at
it's
that
right here.
number that you
Okay,
kept
well,
track
if
of.
anybody wants to help me edit this episode, then join our Discord or slide into our DMs at
the
Volume
number's
1
in front of you.
Spiral.
Spiral into our Discord or spiral into our DMs and apply for an editing position. But anyway,
Okay, all right, Josh. Now take the numbers off.
they're not up there.
All right.
It was funny at first. It was kind of distracting from the episode.
Move the number.
You guys are, now it's
Move the
animated.
number.
Now it's animated. That's
Oh, the
triple
spiral
work.
count's kind of like breaking it down.
Oh, it's
look at it
Oh, they're
dance.
dancing.
No,
It's-
not
they're-
dancing.
oh,
You know how long this episode
oh,
wouldn't come out till next Halloween if I had to do all this.
Go spiral. Go spiral.
I might add one number,
Oh, thank God.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
420?
maybe
We probably
maybe.
already hit 420.
That'd be a
huh?
good one.
Or maybe 69.
Oh.
But after that, if we're doing a spiral counter, then nobody can say spiral anymore.
Okay,
No.
that's going to be insanity.
Impossible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Don't put that on
But
us.
speaking of the dad starts spiraling and he starts making pottery that
And
has,
he's like, yeah, it just comes out spirals now.
and again the spell of the spiral. But he's not reacting to the fact that when he puts it's a kiln, is what you said, right? Is what it's called. When he starts, he makes them perfectly, and then when he puts them into the kiln, faces of the dead come out.
Then he's just like looking at it, like, what are you looking at? Like, nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah, he knows.
of course he knows.
Yeah.
He's a madman with a box, which is what they call the doctor. That's for a couple people. Anyway, so Kiri ends up figuring it out or seeing it or sneaking out of a room and she's going like, Dad, what are you doing? I don't know.
What is this?
What the fuck?
What happened?
And Suichi ends up getting there because he is hearing the pots through the phone when he's talking to her, and he's like, "Are they calling my name? Are they calling?" And also, when the dad is before that happens, something that I did want to talk about is before the spiral plate incident and all that stuff. There's faces in the pots that he's like putting in his home, and his dad or her dad goes to try to sell them at an art show, and everybody's like, what is this?
Yeah, the mom is like, I don't like what you're doing here.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, this is not okay.
And the
he's
little
like, what do you
brother-
want me to do about it? It's just faces on a
It's
plate.
art.
It just happens when I put
It just happens when I put my art into the kiln.
And the brother's like, this looks like Suichi's mom and dad. and then they're all like, I don't see it. And then they,
Art is interpretive.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that looks exactly, yeah. And then
Yeah.
he's like, oh, my mom and dad are calling to me. They're in the kiln.
And that was the part I was like, this is berserk shit. Like,
Yeah, if
all of
I-
the faces and the detail. And
They
it
would
was
definitely be
awesome.
like, I don't care how big of a crush I have. I'm leaving town now.
Absolutely. Dude, I mean, he has begged her.
Just, can we please, like, for a week?
At this point, it's now affecting her family
Yeah.
and her life. And she's like, no, I'm not quite sure.
So-
I
Sold
don't
on the
know
spirals.
yet.
yeah.
Let's just go back to school. We're gonna meet.
Yeah,
the bitch of on campus.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's when we get into.
Yeah, then we meet this next chapter is called The Scar because we meet the girl.
It's like a crescent shape, and I'm like, okay.
Azami.
Every time a new story happens, I'm like, how is this going to be about spirals? And I'm like, okay, well, that scar is not a spiral.
I thought the same thing.
I was like, okay, here we go. We're getting
Yeah.
away from the spirals. Okay, here we go. Crescent moon, like it.
And just like the scar, it was a little bit of a stretch because I was like, how is that going to be a spiral? And then it literally just like,
it just became a spiral.
it just became a spiral.
And I really gave her credit. You know, I was like, you know, all these people starting rumors about her. All these guys are liking her. It's like she's just like not entertaining it. And I was like, yo, that sucks for her. Like all these people telling her you shouldn't hang out with her because she's gonna steal your boyfriend. And
Yeah, they say she uses her bangs to hide a mark on her forehead that curses people.
Curses boys to fall in love.
Mhm.
And
spooky.
Like
you said, I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt because she even went back to Kiri and was like, they didn't tell you about the scar, did they? Like, they've been bullying me about that for years because I got it. I was trying to impress a boy and I fell and we actually became
Her
friends
backstory
and
was very believable.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah.
I was like,
And
okay.
I'm like, yeah. And then she's like, and then the guy sees it. He's like, get away from me.
Which was
get
also
away
cool
from me.
because I thought, okay, Suichi, who is Kiri's boyfriend, I thought he was gonna fall under the spell, but
he's no simp.
He's no simp. He was like, get the fuck out of my house.
I think it's not like I feel weird whenever she's around. I don't want to be around her.
Yeah.
Which was like, oh, it wasn't influencing, but you're just like, no.
And her immediate reaction to that is, I want to be around him all the time.
Yeah.
I want to go to his house in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and bang on his door and be like, I'm thinking about you. When you turned me down, I've only been thinking about you. No one's ever turned me down before.
And I like the girl just being like, you need to leave my boyfriend alone.
Yeah, like so calm, so nice. Just like, you need to stop coming over because he doesn't like you. He's with me.
Yeah.
No. He's gonna like me.
She like gave him a gift and like she returns it and she's like, don't give him gifts. It's like he could not be more clear where he stands with you.
Yeah.
And I mean, her story really is, and this is again back to the episodic thing, it just really ends with, and I truly, for this being the panel that is on everything, and I get it visually, it's cool, but nothing really happens in this chapter. The scar turns into a spiral, and then it turns into a bigger spiral, and then a guy gets sucked in. And it's just a nonsense.
Yeah, a guy that
character.
like it was the guy who had a crush on the girl. Was that the no? That was
that was the.
Oh, it was just like she said she would go out with me if I tricked you into being here, and then she's like, I'm not going out with you. He's like, well, you promised. And then she gets sucked into herself, and then she sucks him as she goes, and they both just get sucked in, and then
and usually that's a great thing. Usually that's called 69.
Yes.
But in
this
case,
twisted tale.
In this twisted tale, it's just another spiral, baby.
Yes.
And I mean, it was so much, it just felt so much like a comedy for that couple to just be like, well,
now she's out of the picture.
Yeah, well, I guess her hubris was her undoing.
That's another thing, too, with Junji Ito's stories. It's like so much buildup, and then the ending is just like, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, case closed. She just disappeared. Bye.
And end of that story.
Yeah, literally. That's what it feels like. This one specifically is just like, and she was gone without a trace.
And no one's ever going to talk about her again.
Ever again.
And
she's
you're going
gone.
to forget that she was ever in this story.
She's gone.
Yeah.
I think this next story was kind of the one where I'm like, I guess I'm not going to find this series scary at all.
The next chapter is called The Firing Effect. And that's where I think the fire happens, right? Or are you talking? Or did that happen?
I
earlier?
think we skipped. It was
because
it was
we
her
were trying to get through everything.
It was Akira, and then I forgot her name, and then it was the kiln.
Yes.
And then it is the spiral plate or whatever. The Twisted Souls.
I was
chapter 5.
Twisted Souls.
The Twisted Souls was great.
Was like a comedy to me. Like almost.
Yeah.
I mean, how it's just like
you
this
can't be with them.
This family feud, and it's like they share a drywall, so they just yell, and it's like, well, maybe if they got a job, they wouldn't be trying to beat up my son. And then you can just hear them go, "Fuck you," and it's like that's a great premise for a comedy.
Well, it is like, what if Romeo and Juliet lived in Section 8 housing? You know, what if Romeo, the Montagues and the Capulets shared a wall?
Yeah,
you know, and I guess it like, had a romantic ending,
but it was just like. And then they became snakes.
And jumped into the ocean.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And were never seen.
And it was
was
sort of
crazy.
just like, oh, that's so nice. They'll be together forever. I'm like, what?
That was the crazy part, the ocean part. Because, they don't want their families don't want to be together. They're fighting this sheer wall, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, also, how many times this boy got hit was also hilarious. He was getting hit every fucking
His family would beat him up for trying to talk to her. Her family would beat him up.
In the face every time.
Yeah. And, they said that it was because of, Suichi had said that their souls are twisted. And that's why they're arguing all the time. And that's when I was like, all right, brother, be careful. Be careful with this whole spiral thing.
But the way they turn into spirals, again, I guess, kind of, is they're just like, take my hand, and then they just immediately stretch and become like ropes, and then
he tells her, he's like, dude, the thing that we do sometimes.
Oh yeah, because like he gets like knocked down, and then he gets up again. Yeah, because you're never gonna keep him down.
Because he's gonna get back up again. Don't they say it twice in the song?
No, they don't.
Oh yeah, they do.
You take the whiskey drink, I know that. Take the vodka drink.
But you're right, Cody. They do just
Take the longer drink.
They do just do it.
Take
And
the
it is
spiral
like,
drink.
Take the spiral drink, and it is the spiral staircase to the bar. And they start wrapping themselves around each other as if they're a Plastic Man and Elastigirl all of a sudden.
Oh, sick.
I just two stretchy people.
Yeah.
Nice one, Josh.
Yeah. They stretch as if they're two stretchy people.
Is it better than saying that? Is what I said better than saying two stretchy people? I think so. Like two slinkies.
I would
Two
prefer that.
twin snakes, like the candy.
And what I said was bad.
I like.
You liked it because they're stretchy and they're together.
And they're twisted, and it's called Twisted.
Elastigirl.
Okay, do it again.
And
Sell it again.
whoever
Sell it
else
again.
I
Go
said.
ahead.
I think it's more like a Elastigirl and
I think it's more like Twisted. I think it's like Twin Snake.
I think it's more like Twisted Sister,
Oh.
the band.
What Have You Done?
Oh shit.
But yeah,
Good one.
and I didn't mind this story so much.
It was just like, what was that?
The goofy thing was the ocean thing.
Yeah.
Because they became the Loch Ness Monster.
I
and
hope
then
they're
just swam
happy.
away.
I hope they're happy.
But that's what I
There's
couldn't help.
No way. I mean, it's like, what are they gonna do now?
That's what I mean. I couldn't help but think like, so they just live in the ocean now?
Maybe it was like a Romeo and Juliet thing. They just
that
jumped in
is
the
that.
ocean
But
and drowned
Romeo and
together.
Juliet died.
The director's
That's what I'm
cut.
saying.
Oh, they drowned?
Also,
Yeah, they
spoilers.
For Romeo and
Juliet?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Romeo and Juliet also a comedy.
Shake my head, Spear.
Oh, Megan, and you got me back with that one. I was mad at you for shitting on my, Plastic Man and Elastigirl thing, but you won me back.
I have
with
to
that.
hamel it up a bit.
Not as
See,
good,
this is
but
what we
not,
were talking about. How like
not as bad as usually the second round is.
Okay,
I've
that's
heard
it.
worse second rounds
Yeah,
before.
I'm on one. Okay, that was good.
But that's
The
their
third
story,
round.
and it was goofy a little bit, right?
that
A
was
little
when I
silly.
was really worried that
And-
I wasn't going.
And also, like, at what point do they realize, like, every person they come in contact with is going to die a spiral death?
That's what I mean.
Like, every person they touch or have contact with, she's like, oh, my classmate from elementary school. And it's like, bro, like, don't enter his life because you're going to spiral him.
He's
Yeah.
gonna get into spirals.
Yeah.
The final one of this volume, I was like, is this like a superhero story?
The Medusa chapter, which is the hair chapter, which started off very cool. Her hair got longer, and then it started
And
to spiral.
it was
and
cool
then-
because it's like, oh, a main character is being affected by this.
That's what
Yes.
I thought. Yes, I was like, oh,
Finally.
no. Like, she's going to get.
spiraled.
I don't know. We're saying it
I'm
too much.
sorry.
It is fun. It's fun. It's like malignant.
it's
But
a fun word to say.
I do like how they all kind of tie to like the overall theme. I think is like he says, like
Spirals.
the power. Yes, with the power of
That was
attraction.
impromptu. That was unnecessary.
A power of attraction.
Yes. And attention. And that's another thing that I thought was
I
a
feel like
stretch.
spirals play into the theme of the story.
Yeah, no shit.
You said it again.
Spirals? I haven't said spirals once. Are you hearing me say something?
Okay, you're
You're on thin ice.
You're spiraling.
Yeah.
Fuck. There's
Yeah.
no other thing to say. But this is another part of it that I thought was a stretch, man, because they're saying like, oh, okay, if the spirals infect your soul and your souls are twisted, then you're mean. But if the spirals affect other people, then it makes them want attention because spirals also can like twist you, but they can also draw people in and want to capture people's eye. I'm like, let's fucking nail this spiral thing down. Let's figure out what this thing is doing.
Well, and that's why the ending, like, really saving like the story, because it's like the main characters, I guess, because she's like so close to the boy who's like sort of like not under the spell the whole town is, like she's also kind of like not fully in it either. But it's like, what? So like when the girl who like is fully part of it gets her hair spiraled, she's like, yes, I want more attention. I want people to look at me. And the spirals make people look at them. And it's like, in the ending, they're like that. They talk about like, why is this happening? And one of the reasons is it wanted attention.
Mm-hmm. And, it ends up, and I think I know why you're saying, is this like a superhero story? Because it ends with both of them having a hair battle in the court.
Which I loved because she was just like, everyone's like, oh, your hair looks really nice. Because at first it was like bouncy curls.
It was nice.
And then she's like, that fucking. And then she just shows up the next day like, look what I, and then, like, by that time her hair is like full on, like, become antennas, like, everywhere. And she's like, look what I did. I'm like, did she do that herself?
I thought that too.
It was like, she's under
skilled.
a curse to make her a spiral. She's like, and that's where, like, if this was a comedy, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That is a scene I could see in Scary Movie.
Definitely in Scary Movie.
Like, someone comes like, I'm also spiral hair.
Yeah.
What are you going to do now?
And just this huge wig that they're wearing. But it did end on a beautiful note where, essentially the girl, they realize the main character cuts her hair off, or Suichi cuts her hair off. The other girl's like, I'm king of the castle. And she's like walking around and then realizes that the hair and the spirals are drawing power or life, draining her life essence. And so the more she taps into it, the more she becomes drained. And it ends on this like beautiful panel of her hair wrapping around a telephone pole and branching out as if it's some sort of fauna from a Dr. Seuss novel, And I thought that was nice visually, but again, narratively, a little goofy.
What? Yeah, you're like, what? Yeah, okay, yeah. Because it's like, for the protagonist, how that resulted. He shows up at the end and is like,
Yeah.
all right. They cut her hair. And then it's like, she looked great, by the way, with that hair.
Oh, yeah. She really combed it out towards the end. I was like, okay.
She pulled it off.
Yeah, she pulled it off.
She went through about 3 hairstyles in this first volume and killed, honestly, every single one of them.
Served.
Got the face for it.
Served.
Some people got it. Some people don't. Then it goes into the Jack in the Box story, which I also, I haven't eaten Jack in the Box in a long time.
That's not true.
That's
It's
not
not
true.
true.
Last week.
Yeah.
It was actually last night.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah,
we can
How
see
was
the
last
wrappers
night?
And that was a McDonald's bag.
You have other bags.
Okay, let's not. This is about.
I know it's
Spiral.
hard for you to keep track.
Could you have just not like gone along with it?
Gone along with what? A lie?
That's,
You know what they
this
say
is all
about-
scary.
About little lies. They spiral into big lies.
Ooh.
Did you guys ever watch the show Big Little Lies?
Yeah.
I
loved
watched
it.
Big Fat Liar.
I watched Liar Liar. Why did you eye me up and down when you said
What?
that?
We were talking about movies.
Okay. Yeah, I'm talking about a movie too. Ever seen it?
No.
It's called
40-year-old virgin.
Ooh.
Yeah, got him. I was going to say Malignant, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What about me?
Well, now Malignant.
Malignant,
for sure.
It's not as funny.
House of Wax. House of Wax. Like your
House of THC wax.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Okay, we
a
can just
movie
move on.
about you.
Thank you. All the waxies out there.
Don't play around like that.
You're gonna scare Cody. Jack in the Box is a story about now a guy and people. These people are just popping in, and we're meeting, like I said, just people. I meant that.
Oh my God, that was great, Josh.
I meant to
That
to
you
do
meant
that.
And he's doing.
It's like I like how you're like just from the sidelines, like
he's doing the whole thing of like, I'm spooky. We go, which is like thing is like I saw like a guy act that way once.
Me too.
Jesus.
Where like that, what that guy was
That
doing.
was his tactic to scare women into going out with him.
because he would always be like, he was at work, and like I just started making fun of him.
work?
I just like parodied what he was doing to that girl to make it clear to make him like stop it.
To stop, and he's
'Cause
like, "Oh."
I just
probably
started going,
should stop.
"Ooh, I got you, ha ha." Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Probably
God.
my greatest passive aggressive move of all time. It was also the boss, and she was the young employee.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've also seen this behavior before, and it's
So
quite
it was a
off-putting.
40-year-old man being like,
Oh,
"Oh, did
that
I
is-
scare you?"
Did I scare
that's
you?
insidious.
Yeah.
That is insidious.
It's malignant.
It's very malignant behavior, and he needs to get reprimanded for it. This was also a story that just like, again, my one problem with it, the overarching story, we've said it before in this episode already, how it ends, and even, moments throughout are very necessary and very good. But there's like, to me, as much as the Scar chapter was visually pleasing, or, the Twisted Souls chapter might have had like a beautiful moment in it, but, followed by a silly moment. There's some stories that just like either could have been woven together or like just didn't need to be in here necessarily at all just to move the story along. Like the Jack in the Box chapter was just like, it's a guy who gets her gifts. She doesn't want the gifts. And then he fucking jumps in front of a car.
I saw this in a show. My love will stop this car. And he gets to use a guide.
He does. What if, see, and this is what Junji Ito needs.
He's a spiral.
He needs Cody Decker. He needs Cody Decker as an assistant, a writing assistant, because then that's how his next series could have started. And then Junji Ito could have gotten into the isekai
from
genre.
that horror story. He gets isekai'd into a spooky story.
And it's like the Trick or Treat of Junji Ito. Have you seen Trick or Treat?
No.
Okay.
What I did see is a very interesting thing where it's like the gift he gave her was a Jack in the Box, and then it talks like, "This is your fault. He died, by the way." And then she like tells him like, "We need the Jack in the Box said he was going to come back to life. Do you think he was right?" And he's just like, "Well, I mean, we've both accepted that the Jack in the Box spoke to you."
Well, yeah, no, I think what because I noticed that dialogue too, and what she said was because he said that he was going to come back to life or something. And so Suichi's like, let's go to the graveyard and dig him up and like kill him so he doesn't come back. So they're walking to the graveyard and she goes, "Do you really believe what that Jack in the Box said is true?" And then he goes, you believe that it talked in the first place. Like, why is what I'm doing crazy?
Yeah, that's what, like, as the comedy is great. I don't even say it's a comedy as like a negative aspect. I mean, like just the way they talk, because every now and when someone sprinkles in realism to this.
Yeah.
Like that scene, one of the funniest ways people could talk in a horror story.
Yeah.
I mean, someone's saying, "Do you think that cursed doll was lying, or do you think they were being honest?" Like, we've already accepted he talks it like that. You don't care about that part.
Yeah, we've already accepted that he's capable of speaking.
We can trust him.
Yeah. I'm sure he's, he's
a jack of all trades.
Trades.
And I like, because it's like, they open the box and experience. I'm like, that's fun. And he like starts jumping at them and they're like, no, one of the springs was just stuck in him.
I was like, thank
They
God.
go, I think it's over, as he proceeds to lunge at them with more springs.
Because at first they thought it was his spine that had been twisted and spiraled, which I was like, that again, you're pushing it. But then they say, oh no, it's a leftover spring from the car.
Which was also like the bit of humor is like, because it's like, no, it wouldn't. No, that's not what happened. Yeah. Right. So it's just like, oh no, it's this it's the spring got stuck in his body and it caused him to jump and attack us. And
he became a human Jack in the Box.
And he became a human Jack in the Box because he loved those. Well, just another Saturday night.
Yep. And then that's kind of
because the story. A lot of these episodes just end.
Yeah. They have no further consequences. Nothing, because everything is happening to everybody else. And besides the hair story, which was quickly sort of resolved, nothing else is really happening to them or their family. I mean, Suichi's family in the very beginning, and then the other main character's family towards the very, very end. So all these things are just happening, and life is moving on as normal.
Mm-hmm.
I actually loved this chapter.
Are we at the snails?
Yes.
This was the biggest thing of like, okay, this is a different world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The snail chapter might have been my favorite chapter, and it wasn't until the like final panel at the end. It had a very Tusk vibe to
That's
it.
what I said.
Yeah.
Very Tusk-esque.
Very Tusk-esque. And I wonder if you know what I'm talking about exactly. But essentially here there's a character who it only comes to school when it rains.
Yeah, they're like, he only comes to school when it rains. What a crazy thing to say.
Megan showed us the live action adaptation, and in the manga, it's like, yeah, he only comes when it rains, and the rainwater is meant to look like snail slime. But in the live action,
he's just covered in ooze.
Yeah, he just won a Kids' Choice Award, or has been spending too much time. Yeah, spending too much time in his room alone. You know what I mean? And he just comes to school like that.
He comes.
You could say he's a.
Could say he's a what?
What could you say?
I don't want to say it.
Say it.
You could say he's a boy cocky.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, and he's like, sorry, I'm late. I'm always late.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
And it's just like some guy who is just like, yeah, that guy is as slow as a snail.
Yeah.
Which everyone was like,
the whole class erupts.
Got him.
Everybody's like, fuck that guy.
They're like, you should do stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
You got it, because he is as slow as a snail.
You got it right
The
on
thing
the
is,
head.
it's funny and true.
It's funny because it's true.
Oh,
And it's all. And then the scariest chapter is when that guy does go and become a stand-up comic, and that is the scariest.
I mean, and that's why we talk about the hospital scene. Like after that, like it just becomes his journey in stand-up.
into stand-up comedy.
And you're just like, no, stop.
no, what are you doing?
You're wasting it.
Yeah.
You're wasting your life.
And that's in there too if you read it. But yeah, so he's like, oh yeah, my back hurts or whatever. I got something on my back, and then there's like it looks like just like a spiral on his back. What is kind of different about this is then the spiral gets bigger and bigger and bigger and starts to, he starts to look sort of almost hunchback, and then he can't even wear a shirt anymore. And then there's another panel where he is crawling as a snail, almost full snail, into
it's
class.
almost full snail.
My first thing was like, why would you go to school? Why would you go? But I'm like, the spell of the spiral. And it's the second thing was, it is so funny that the way it's drawn, I don't know if you noticed this, but it's almost as if he had his pants on at a certain point, and then because he is dragging himself across the floor, his pants are sliding off.
Oh,
But it is like, how long were your pants on for? And like, why are they coming off now? Just a little detail, but
that you noticed. Really detail oriented, huh?
I'm an artist. But anyway, so there's the guy who's bullying him.
Yeah.
Oh, and I liked the thing where like he becomes like he becomes a snail after that.
Yeah.
And then like call his parents. I'm like, what do you
And they're
mean? Like he's in trouble?
He's just like the school snail now.
He was.
They have like a cage for him.
Yeah, they're
now.
like, I don't know.
He
put
was snailing the side of the building
They're
at a
like,
certain point.
Call his mom.
Yeah. Instead of scaling.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like, call his parents. I don't guess he doesn't have any parents.
And his dad's like, that's not my kid.
He's going to be the
No
new
son of mine is a snail.
He's going to be the new school pet.
You think I make snails? And he's just like being gross. That's in the manga. That's in the manga. And he just grabbed his balls, which I thought was like crazy.
Oh yeah, then he looks at his wife and goes like, "Did you cheat on me?"
Yeah.
Oh.
Did you fuck the snail that's our next door neighbor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That son of a bitch, Gary.
Oh,
yeah.
that was solid. The bully starts turning into a snail. They put the first snail into a cage.
They're like, we'll just give him.
That's the part.
Yeah, they're like, oh, well, they get along now. What are they doing?
Oh, too
They're
good.
both dudes. Like that's the weird part. They're, for them, they're like,
Yeah.
what? They're like that's weird.
They're
like,
mating.
They've accepted
mating.
that they've both become snails,
Yeah.
and they're like, they're behaving weird.
They're mating, and
They're like, oh, but snails are hermaphrodites. Which I assume the first guy became the woman. I assume he was the bottom.
Probably, maybe I could see that.
Yeah.
They were both bottom feeders.
And
That was good.
She's just on fire today.
That was good.
Think when I don't have a voice, I'm on fire.
I think you know what it is. I think it's because of all the fire that you're spitting. It's irritating your throat.
Oh, that's good. That man, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it couldn't possibly
If
be
only we
because
all
my
weren't-
Red Bull
Oh.
and my vape pen.
Speaking of,
Speaking of,
Refill you, man.
yeah, if only we all weren't just vaguely sick.
just a little bit. I mean, we're so much better.
But yeah, I really liked this chapter. I thought it was a cool,
and then
refreshing little.
The teacher
Get back
smashes
up.
the snail eggs,
Yeah.
and then he's snail.
Because
And then
that's
he's
another
snail.
case of the snails getting away. They break out, they get away, and and then they lived happily ever after. Which was weird.
It's like we couldn't catch them; they were too fast. Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. And then later, well, we'll get to it. But yeah, then the teacher turns into a snail.
And then the Black Lighthouse. This was probably my least favorite one.
Yeah, mine too. Oh, one of mine. Yeah.
The highlight was that they did the Van Gogh swirls.
Yeah.
Highlight was the Van Gogh swirls. Highlight was the corpses in the lighthouse. Highlight was the kid getting set on fire.
That was
Mic drop.
A highlight.
Honestly, I feel like that's covered it.
Honestly,
It really.
I feel like
There's one of the lighthouses. Everyone's like, oh, look at spirals, and yeah, everything Megan said happened.
everything Megan said happens, and then it's just beams of light that are also coming out of it that are just setting everybody who's in the immediate vicinity on fire. And it happens every day at 3:00
on the dot.
and that never stops happening.
Well,
by the
because
way, in the background.
what's the number 3?
Oh my god!
It should be 8 actually, because 8 would be a.
But then you got to think about what's that. In
You
like
can make an
Japanese.
8 out of 3
Oh.
though.
8 out of 3.
You can make an 8 out of a 3.
That's what I don't like
2
about
threes.
numerology is even when, because if people are like, oh, if you plus this, I'm like, yeah, but what, like, these are like American numbers. You know, I mean, I just don't.
American.
I love that excuse for not being good at math. These are just like American numbers. Like, why do they even matter?
I mean, this story isn't dealing with American numbers.
Not
How am I
American
supposed
numbers.
to?
I meant like American,
American numbers?
American words.
Aren't numbers,
So when they're like,
numbers
oh,
are universal.
When they're
It's a
like
universal language. That's what they
no,
literally call it.
Everyone says that.
American words, like when they say like, oh, if you add all these letters up, it spells devil, and like, yeah, it spells devil in English.
The number 4 represents death.
Oh,
I know that. I know that's at least in one. I don't even remember what culture that's in, but that's a number for sure. I have no idea why either, because I mean, everyone like
yeah, numbers.
we don't die at 4.
Yeah, what a weird number.
What for?
Honestly,
And that's the Lighthouse chapter. Mosquitoes. Is
and then
Mosquitoes.
this is when for all of us the story became real.
So that's like middle of volume 2. So that's literally at the halfway point of
Chapter
the story.
10.
It did feel like
So almost exactly the halfway.
yeah. So if you're like, does it not get spooky? It does. Right after the lighthouse, and you're like, I guess we'll have a lot of fun making fun of this.
Yeah. I think that this was probably the scariest. This was probably the most uncomfortable. This was probably the grossest. Essentially, the main character gets sent to the hospital because of what happened in the lighthouse. She narrowly escaped getting set on fire, and she sees her cousin in the hospital as well. And her cousin is pregnant and having a baby. And
that's scary in
the
itself.
scariest part of it.
Yeah, that was.
Oh my God.
I mean, and then I was like, all right. So the next chapter.
Now it's a horror story.
Yeah, I was like, and that's what I think the part of it that we all just really connected to, the fear of parenthood. I think. And just oh my God.
Yeah.
Junji Ito, you madman.
Ooh.
And so she's there, and everybody else who's there is pregnant. There's so many other pregnant women there, and even the doctor's like, "This is crazy." And
There's like 20 pregnant women.
Yeah. What am I, a doctor?
I hardly knew her.
I hardly knew her. And they just essentially start waking up with holes in them. Everybody starts waking up with holes in them
Like,
and in their clothes.
I thought it was mosquitoes.
That's what they said. Yeah.
Yeah, then they think it's
And like,
mosquito.
oh, the mosquitoes go
And
in spirals.
honestly, that reaction's totally valid. You know, they're like dead. I'm like, that's how I feel every time I get bit by a mosquito. Like, it's so uncomfortable. They're just the worst.
I
I
like
don't think
that.
it's that. I don't think getting bit by mosquitoes is that bad.
It's awful.
You like it?
I don't like it.
Yeah, what the hell?
Oh, what the heck?
What the heck?
I mean, it's not like, I don't think there's anybody out there who has like a mosquito fetish.
You never
be
never
surprised.
say
Yeah.
that.
Be surprised because it's only female mosquitoes that suck.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, would you look at that? Would you look at the world that God created?
Wow, really?
It's a joke, dude.
It's mosquitoes. What do
They're
you?
mosquitoes. Oh, I'm turning so red and getting
Wow.
so hot. Woo!
I liked how she's like, you know, her hot bedmate, whatever, is
Her
like
bedmate.
she's pregnant, and then she's like, oh, you got a package. You're like, what's this? And it's just it's just a tube wrapped in something, and I'm like, where is this story going?
Where is this story
Because she's
going?
just like, oh, that's nothing. Put that away. Like, this seems like she just found a very personal item.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
She's like, I gotta
Weird
take this to
turn.
the hospital with me, dude.
I'm gonna be in the hospital for how long?
I have a private room though, right?
No? Well.
I have my own bathroom though, right?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
All right, that's fine.
I'll work with
oh,
it.
Yeah, I'll do
I
it.
wake up early.
Yeah. But the mosquito thing was kind of crazy too because it took a turn because I thought, oh, are these women gonna end up being
Spiral?
spiral bloodsuckers? Are they gonna spiral the blood out of you? But then they all end up getting tools, which was the crazy thing about it is they all end up getting those like
Crankers.
yeah, the crankers, the clankers, the JoJo. I got JoJo.
Yeah, that was like
JoJo
Cody. That
clankers.
was a Cody.
Yeah, I know, and it hurt. Didn't feel good. Almost felt as bad as getting drilled
In your
In your
veins.
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 Veins, yes. And the way they suck blood is they'll drill a hole in you, and then as the blood shoots out, they'll just start sucking the blood.
I
out of you.
love that. I was like, we got some vampire mosquito pregnant ladies running the hospital, running amok. I was like, now I'm on board. Now we got
and the point of the
they're just
mosquitoes
like,
being female is because they need to feed the babies.
Yeah,
drink
once a
blood.
night, like 10 of our patients just die from like stab wounds and stuff. Like,
It's the mosquitoes. They're
No,
crazy this time of
mosquitoes,
year.
yeah.
No, remember what happened is this was crazy. So like one day, the hospital staff woke up, and like everybody in this ward was dead. And then Kiri's narration is like, nobody in the hospital believed me.
Yeah.
Nobody in the hospital believed me. After everything that's been happening in this town, snail kids that I'm sure were on the news, spiral
I'm
cremation.
here because the lighthouse was like a monster. That's like in the report.
We
And
got
she's
a
like,
guy
"No
down the
one
street
believed
who
me."
turned himself into a spiral.
Yes.
We got a lady in the hospital that was in the same hospital that thought spirals were out to get
Who
her.
dug her ears out or
We had a
whatever.
kid that ran into a car.
I
We
mean,
have
kids, that could just.
a kid that turned into a snail.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like after all,
The teacher
the teacher
became a snail. 2 students and a teacher became a snail.
Everyone, I think they just see what they want to see, and they're just like, okay, keep walking.
And that's when I really started to think, like, outside of the spiral spell, I started thinking, like, is this like a metaphor for something? Like, and you
That's just what the absurdity of the situation does to you.
I mean, I was like,
This is a metaphor for something.
it has to be. They have to be saying something. But yeah, so she says, nobody believes me. So then after that, the women just turn back to normal. Like they're like this vampiric sort of like scary, ghoulish looking creature. And then they turn back to normal once they drink blood. And then she's like, and after that, they were very discreet about it. And then it just shows them sucking out like blood out of these packets that are laying around the hospital.
And then the next chapter is the umbilical cord.
And now that was awesome. Because
it was-
what happened is like at the end of that, the mosquito chapter,
Yeah.
she goes into labor.
Yeah.
And Kira's narration is like, I wondered what kind of baby was going to be born after being fed by human blood.
And also, they were all due on the same date. They all had babies at the same time, like craziness.
And that's what I love. And we talked about in the beginning of the episode, just these like slightly abnormal things, like 10 women being, pregnant or are delivering babies on
It
the
was a
same
heck
day.
of a party.
One heck of a party, dude. I wonder if it's ever happened before. I had like a giant orgy. Everybody got pregnant. And then, you know what? I'm going to cut this part out. No, I'm just kidding.
I think that would be for
Pregnancy
the best.
orgy.
Pregnancy orgy.
No, I'm not saying, I mean, you know.
We know. That was your out.
Oh, right. Pregnancy orgy.
It was
You can't,
you
no.
can't do it.
Anyway, this is all isn't going to be left in the episode. And if you're watching it, I forgot to take it out.
Yeah, like you're just gonna take out the fucking spiral counter, I guess.
Oh, there it goes.
Oh,
no,
there
it's
it
not
is.
there.
Oh, it's bouncing.
Oh, what?
Oh, it's
not
spiraling.
balancing.
Is it the spiral mascot that you designed?
Okay, now I'm not drawing anything.
Spirally.
Ready? I'm spiraling.
It would be kind of fun to draw a spiral character.
We got him.
That's
all you gotta do.
It's that easy, folks.
Then, she delivers the baby, and then the chapter, the cover page for that, it's called the chapter's called the umbilical cord, and I was like, ooh, here we go,
Disgusting.
because it was also a continuation, and I was like, what? Now we're getting somewhere.
Oh, I didn't even get that.
Yeah, dude, and I thought like that these babies were gonna be like a huge plot point, and they kind of really also weren't, but. That story at least was more terrifying.
Aren't those the No, that wouldn't make sense.
They're the babies from Invader Zim, I think.
No.
Mhm.
Aren't those? No.
What?
Talking about the kids that we see later on.
Oh,
What if
no,
those
those
are the
aren't-
babies?
No, those are just kids.
Those are
Okay. Those are just ruffians.
No, because we know that
Yeah.
these babies never grew up.
Oh.
Yeah, they all got. Yeah.
I can't talk
They're
about
all
the
beautiful.
mean fart sound.
They're all beautiful babies, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's blood will do that. Okay, good, happy ending, I guess. I don't know what.
Mhm. And then people start getting mushrooms in their dishes at the hospital, and they're like, "Oh, these are very meaty mushrooms."
This is when I knew like everyone's in on it. like now the hospital is serving this. All of them are going crazy. Like this is when shit's starting to hit the fan for the whole town.
Yeah. And you basically find out that the babies are aging backwards, and they're every time they snip the umbilical cords, they're growing out again, and they're creating like stems, I guess. And then they're the fluid or the placenta is forming around them
Placentia
again.
is a city, isn't it?
Placentia is the city where we live. Don't dox us, Cody.
I moved out of my mother's home to whom it may concern. She lived in Placentia.
It's good. It's a very local joke, I think, but it's
SoCal, where you at?
Yeah.
I thought it was womb, apparent.
To whom it may concern is a great line.
That's a universal. That's a universal line.
Thought I'd bring it out.
It was great.
Anyway, the babies. People do that in real life.
Oh, people eat the placenta in real life?
Well, it's supposed to be incredibly healthy.
No, it is.
And that's where you
It's
hear
good.
the stories about animals stealing the afterbirth.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, just a free sack of nutrients.
Yeah.
Nutrients.
Yeah.
And the
Great for the
umbilical
skin.
cord, too. People save those, which I'm like, okay, that's kind
Yeah,
of
people
gross.
put it in scrapbooks and
Yeah,
stuff.
Look, I
disgusting.
saved your umbilical cord.
Yeah,
It's like,
why?
What did you...
Well, like
Why?
when you had your incident and they had to cut something out of you, were you like, I want to keep this?
Yes, actually.
So, you know,
You're saying
it's
that.
the
I
same
was
thing.
like, can I see it?
Yeah.
And they're like, here's your tumor. And was like, fuck you.
Did you want to put it in a jar? And
I would have loved to have a jar, yeah.
Why? Walk me through that.
So-
Because you could say like, this is the thing. I beat this thing.
You just have a jar on my table that I could just flip off every morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I guess so.
I would love to do that.
It's kind of
actually.
like greed in Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
A
Yeah.
little container.
Yeah. But I think that it's also gross when people just duct tape like a umbilical cord.
Yeah,
in a
disgusting.
scrapbook.
It's all like fucking shriveled up and like crusty. Like,
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah, and
The
there was
babies-
a part
yeah.
where like she like catches them, just like the creepy aspect where they're like she saw, and they're like,
Yeah.
that was like a moment of just genuine terror.
Scary.
But then because they're kind of like aging backwards or putting themselves back in the placenta.
Yeah, they're like, this sucks. You
Yeah.
know what?
And the babies are
ruled?
talking
Yeah.
telekinetically, psychically.
If I look at her and they're like,
You know what?
Oh, that
yeah,
was
I
funny.
love that. Where
the
the
stink
baby,
eye.
because she's like, they're going crazy, and like the moms look at them like, did you see something? The baby goes like, you got something?
Yeah, the babies are all like goo goo gaga.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's very funny.
They're just like, man, being born sucks. Being in the womb ruled. We should just do that again.
and they're like, well, Tony's the first one to go. And after that, it's back home for all of us. And basically, this is where you find out the doctor's in on it. And she walks into the room, and the placenta is growing these mushrooms. So people are basically eating placenta, and the doctor's going crazy. He's like, I did it. I actually did it. The operation was a success.
That's a great doctor voice.
yeah, I know.
I love
what
it.
was that?
I don't know.
I
That
love
is-
it.
That's exactly the twisted doctor.
I don't know what that was. And then we see the scary reveal, the panel of, he just shoved that baby right back in there.
And you just see a giant scar across her, like down from her chest, and then goes right around the back. Like,
Yeah, it was gross.
yeah, horrifying.
And that's where I was just like, ugh. I mean, yeah, it was hard to
Yeah,
get
what was
through.
that voice you did? And just the operation was a complete success.
Yeah, that's a little bit better than what I was
Oh,
doing. I
you
don't
sound
know.
like the guy from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I don't know.
I
That
haven't
was-
seen
It's
that.
astounding.
It's
Yeah.
maybe I could do that.
Time is
The operation
fleeting.
was a complete. It's astounding.
Oh my
That's
god!
good, Cody.
The operation was a complete.
You
success.
should be it for Halloween.
I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, you have to watch
I haven't
it.
seen
It's
it
a
either.
It's astounding.
The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
it's
Give me-
a
is there another
fucking
quote?
trip. It's a trip.
I need,
Can
I
I
need
be
an
honest?
anchor quote.
Can I be honest? I did see like the first half hour of it.
You want
and
the
I was
cloud
like-
of not seeing? Oh, did you didn't like it?
I was just like, because everybody, it just like it felt like it was so many people's identity, that movie. It was like literally like spawned like a style of fashion. Like people, it was that and Clockwork Orange that people would like. So like it was who they were.
Yeah, Clockwork Orange, by the way.
Just watch a movie and enjoy it. That's all I ask.
No,
of
sure,
you.
yeah,
Just like Twilight.
sure, yeah, a great.
I'll watch
fantastic
if I
saga.
find out I can do a voice. It's like, well, no, I have to.
It's astounding.
It's astounding.
Dude, you're perfect at it.
It's astounding.
It's
Tim
perfect.
Curry, right?
Tim.
That's not
Curry.
Tim Curry's character.
But
though.
he's in that movie.
He's in it, yes.
And to me, the
Frank
best
is right.
role that Tim Curry has ever
Smasher.
played in his entire life is Nigel Thornberry from The Wild Thornberry.
I just did, yeah.
Megan?
He plays.
He's Nigel Thornberry, yeah.
Smashing.
Shut up.
I swear to God.
It makes I didn't. It's like you hear it, right?
Yeah.
I'm spiraling.
Well,
Didn't know that would do it.
we're gonna be done soon, folks.
Yes. Thank you for sticking around. We are in, I believe, almost the final volume. We are one chapter away from discussing the final
Oh
volume.
yeah, and just how that story ended because like the ending was basically she just goes like, and then I left the hospital.
Yeah.
And it's just
Then
like
I
everyone's
tripped.
nuts.
Then I fell down the stairs and I had to go back.
She fell down the stairs. She fell
Yeah.
hard down those stairs.
Crazy.
Yes. The only thing I have for this is in Japan,
Mhm.
the storm chases you.
And I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
There's a storm that was like had a crush on her.
Which, when you say it like that, a little wild.
Mm.
The chapter immediately afterward, the guy's like, I got some competition.
Yeah.
He literally says that. The storm does have a crush on her. It is looking for her.
Yeah,
And then
like
at one
the
point
point
even bends the mirror down and he's like, it's peeking. through
Yeah,
the
and she's
reflection.
like, it can see me.
Yeah.
And then like, cause it throws something at her once it
Yeah.
like does that.
It sucks something up else into the sky that they think is her and then spits them back out.
I don't want this shit.
This is probably the last chapter before it starts. I mean, this is actually the beginning of things starting to unfold, I guess.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like a typhoon comes and is chasing her, has a crush on her. All that stuff happens. And then just for the sake of moving on, I
They
think
get away.
they get away. They get away.
What do you? I mean, yeah, it's like that was just a pure action.
Yeah.
Scene.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm like, I could see this in a B movie of like it's the evil storm.
The resolution to that, or the end of that, is that their house gets destroyed and they have to move.
Yeah. Which was kind of tragic. And it was a huge storm. Wiped out a lot of places.
Yeah. And
Yeah, and yeah, Volume 3 is where I feel like the story exists completely.
really exists. Yeah.
It's been short stories. You know, maybe it'll continue into the next chapter, but it's largely unrelated.
Yeah.
And then Volume 3 is where it's like you need to read this to appreciate what was happening before.
And it starts with a chapter called The House. They move into
A
This-
house.
a specific kind of house. These houses are old remains of these like shacks that
And-
have been there for a long time.
And we'd seen it before in the previous with the fighting
Mhm.
parents. And the
Oh
kids.
yeah,
That's
what
where
happened
they
to that
lived.
family, by the way?
Yeah. And
Oh yeah, the legend says they all turned into snakes.
Well, just as they all went
But-
to the ocean
to
to go chase them down.
Yeah, that's probably just
Punch him more.
It's probably just a local myth, right, guys?
All of it
Yeah.
is.
Because
Yeah.
like my brother did turn into a snake and go into the ocean, but I don't think an entire family would do that.
No way, dude. My
No.
brother turned into a snail.
No. Oh, you go to blah, blah, blah high school?
Yeah. I go there.
You go to Spiral High?
I go to Spiral High. And that's a show we need to work on. Yeah. But they go to this new house and it's in this rundown shack. It's like, you know, it's a very awful living situation for them. And there's a neighbor there who is
Creepy.
very creepy. There's two. There's one.
The other one I can excuse. Then there's one that's just straight up being a creep.
There's one who you find out later is just like a mom and her son who have just been deformed and they have like these little spiral cones or horns coming out of them. And then there's this guy in the middle who is playing the friendly neighbor guy. And the whole time you're seeing this eye that's spying on them and you assume it's the beast that this boy is or this woman is. And then we find out that it's him. And he's just like looking at this girl through the hole. And then he turns into a spiral monster.
Mm-hmm.
And
You could say he was
Mm-hmm.
horny.
Oh, you absolutely could say that.
Bah, 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 bah.
And okay, I know we keep saying like this is where the story picks up, but it's only because this is where those houses become more prevalent. And when you really start to pay attention to what they might mean later on down the road, because after that, the whole family starts sprouting these horns.
Mhm.
And then they're like, maybe if we move out, they'll go away. and they move out and they go away. Yeah.
When you summarize what happens, because it's like, oh, and that was that chapter.
Yeah.
They moved out, and
it feels like we're minimizing it, but it's also like it's what happened. It's what happened. The butterfly chapter I thought was going to be a chapter that was going to terrify Megan.
Yeah, I literally wrote, no, fuck me. Like, no. I was so scared. But then it was fine.
Yeah, not even having anything to do with butterflies.
Not at all. And I couldn't have been more pleasantly surprised.
I kind of wanted it to be about butterflies.
That would have ruled, because you could have had spirals in the design on the wings.
And you know how they have
the proboscis.
Oh, well, good pull, dude.
Yes, thank you. I play Fallout a lot, so.
Proboscis is
you fight giant insects, and you can individually target body parts. So you end up learning about anatomy.
Yeah.
So they're educational.
Oh. Right.
Look at what game was this?
Fallout. You play
Where's
Fallout.
My pen? Oh, yeah, I do play Fallout. What mod?
I think it's just like the regular game.
There's a monster mod for New Vegas that adds a bunch of creatures. It's just called Monster Mod.
Interesting.
One of them just being like Russians who are just like crawling the ground.
Are you calling Russians monsters? Are you doing that?
Huh?
Oh, he's not even gonna entertain us.
Yeah, that's a masterful move.
That was smart.
The butterfly chapter, I think this has to do with...
Oh, because of the butterfly effect,
Yeah.
because of the wind. Okay.
Yeah. This is when a reporter comes into town. A reporter comes into town, and now we're starting to realize, okay, why is nobody coming to help anybody? Now that things are escalating. Things are slowly escalating.
There was a hurricane.
There was a hurricane, so now that's been everywhere, and people are trying to get there to help. Volunteers are coming to help. This news van is coming to report, and then as soon as they cross like the border to get into the town or the tunnel, a huge typhoon just like takes them out, and then they're like in the rubble, and they're like, "Oh, look, a helicopter!" And then a huge typhoon takes the helicopter out.
It was the same thing with the later chapter too. It's just like the ocean, and I was just laughing so hard.
Yeah.
We're like, help has arrived. Dozens of ships. There is no way for illusions and a spell to prevent the world from seeing what's happening.
And again, Junji Ito is Stephen King of manga. He's a genius. He's a master. But I don't think that's how the butterfly effect, like, quote, is meant to be applied, right?
I think it's just because it says butterfly's wings flap the wind that spirals into a typhoon.
But I thought that has to do with like these events, these domino.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I think it's just because
it's a literal
butterfly wings. And in this phrase, they say butterfly wings and typhoon, and they had typhoons.
And I could go for some Thai food right now.
And they had some kids tied up.
Oh, they did. And they were.
I was like, who tied these kids up? And I was like, oh.
Another point in the story when I thought, this is a superhero story. I thought that the kids were the only ones, because she's going through the rubble. The whole town is destroyed now, and everybody's been forced to live in these shacks, these old shacks. And these old shacks are impenetrable. These typhoons will take down steel, concrete buildings, but cannot make these shacks even budge. These kids are tied up. She unties them, and the kids have like typhoon powers. And I thought it was only them, and that's why they were tied up. But you realize, and this is how like the spiral spell is infecting people. You realize that everybody can do that. And one of the excuses that one of the girls makes is like,
it's the air pressure.
Yeah, because of all the other typhoons.
It's the air pressure. So if you add even a little bit, it'll turn it. And it's just like, just why even bother making them think there's a reason anymore?
You're really grasping at straws at this point.
I like this is like yelling. It's because of the air pressure. It's a different. It's don't talk too loud.
Yeah. And then that's like, which was kind of like a quiet place, but a little bit.
But when it's entirely over visual,
it's
entirely over message, like I'm like, I guess they're whispering because they keep yelling at each other to be quiet.
Because if even their breath, she exhales and then her breath is spirals.
Yeah, she kills. Oh yeah, she like kills one of those kids.
Yeah,
which I was like, good.
You're like, you killed one of our friends.
Yeah. And I thought this might be kind of cool because we meet like a gang who can start to ride tornadoes.
Yeah, this
basically.
is like rivalry, and they're just like playing around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't want to join your gang. He's like, we're not a gang. I'm like, you sure look like a gang.
Yeah, they look like Mad Max.
And they do some crazy
Spiral
shit.
Road.
They cook.
It wasn't good.
They cooked a snail,
They start eating snails.
which is crazy because it's just a human.
That's escargot. They say it's escargot.
They have human bones.
How about
Do they?
escardone?
Escardont. How about let's escargot off, Queen? I don't know.
Yeah,
The look of horror on Megan's face.
Which was the start of like getting into like what started like giving me that feeling of dread and inevitability, because they are like, help can't get here.
Mm-hmm.
We're starving. Like the whole town is just starving to death.
Mm-hmm. And everybody's tried to escape, or she's tried to escape, but it's that classic thing of like, well, at first it's that classic thing, and then it sort of changes later. But she says that like she would go and just always like it would be in a loop. She would be stuck in a loop. And then later she says when she tries to escape that the tunnel starts to look like it's spiraling and she gets dizzy. I get dizzy and then I have to climb out of it or whatever. But yeah, that's a big plot point that they start eating snails. They say that they're delicious, and then they become obsessed with eating snails.
People just start like growing those things, and they're like, well, if you move too slow, you'll become a snail. If you move too fast, you'll turn into you'll gain typhoon powers.
Yeah.
So you have to, and then it's like, but then people are like, they're standing still while explaining this. I'm like,
yeah,
but it's not based on how fast you go
or how loud you're talking,
because you're yelling those. I see the explanation. Yeah. I can see the explanation points. Explanation points.
You needed to say it again, or you just didn't pronounce it right the first time?
Both.
Oh, okay. I thought, at this point, I know as we're explaining things that it seems sillier and sillier, but I thought at this point it was getting really good and really interesting. It leads us into the chaos and erosion chapters, which basically, we don't have to maybe go through all this chapter by chapter. We can just talk about it as a story because it does feel like one complete story at this point.
Just the quote I really like is the news reporter is the new person in town who doesn't get anything, and then they're just like, oh yeah, this town just turns you into snails sometimes.
Yeah. It was funny that she's immediately part of their gang now.
Yeah.
And they will do anything to protect her. And she like leaves her family because her family is like under rubble now, basically. Because the shacks are too full. Everybody's cramming into them.
And they all get tied together.
They all get tangled up, and they become like one tangled creature. But even before that, they were like, we were here first. And they're like, nah, get out. You bring too many new people here or whatever. So they're on the hunt. At this point, mind you, Suichi, this whole time, has been like, why are we still here this whole time? And at this point, she's still like, I have to find a safe place for my family in this town. Because, she has not because she can't escape, because later she tries to escape, but it's not at this point yet.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Because they're like, no, look, these homes are safe. So we just need to find a place like this and everything will be better.
And then there's like, okay, well, there's no more places like this. And when people do go into places like this, they get turned into tangle monsters. And then she's like, well, okay, well, then there's one solution. And so she's like, to leave, right? She's like, no, to make them bigger. What if we expand them and make them bigger? That will mean there'll be more room for us in there. And I think it's actually like another guy that they find that suggests that, but still.
Yeah, and eventually you see him just like working. I was like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
As soon as I make these homes bigger, then we're going to be good.
Yeah, she's like, that's a good idea. We should expand these houses. Anyway, so that happens, and
they do the thing where they try to leave, and then they meet up with a group who are like, we followed you, which was like, started getting to the scary part. Of like, you're trapped now.
And that was where we've been seeing her little brother, right?
Yes.
Her little brother. Don't laugh at me. Her little brother.
I love the voice.
Her little brother's turning into a snail.
Yeah, her little brother got a little Uzumaki on his
He
back.
got a little Uzumaki on his back. He starts turning into a snail. And at one point, he's like, I'm itchy. Like, can you scratch me? I'm like, damn, that shit would be itchy. And
And
it
that
probably
shit
feel
would be
really
itchy.
good to itch.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a hard shell, like coming out of your skin. You're like, I need to itch it.
You see those videos?
I
where
felt
it's
that
like,
in my heart. I read
I
that
could
line.
feel it when you describing it. I could feel
You
it.
see those videos where to scratch a turtle's like back?
Yeah.
They use like steel brushes.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So the turtle is just like, yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
that must feel
kinda cute.
crazy. It's like a callus, but worse.
Mm-hmm. But it's
Yeah.
like they love it.
They love it.
Yeah, I guess, man.
And
I
they're
mean, we have fingernails. Those are kind of hard, right? Those are kind of like
I mean,
shells. Those are like
they're-
shells for your fingertips.
yeah.
They're not like shells, though.
That's a
Okay.
shell. And they're with a group that is eating snail people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
So
they're
when-
holding a hostage snail person that's on the brink of becoming a snail. And they're like, this is our emergency food. Like, that shit was crazy.
And then-
that was
yeah.
apocalypse type shit.
Yeah,
Like, what's up with your brother? He has a backpack.
he's wearing a backpack. It's big. It's a big one.
They're like, I'm itchy. Oh, let me scratch it.
Yeah. And they're like, well, can we see the backpack? And she's like, no.
Maybe there's food in that backpack. Clothes.
No, remember I said it was a big backpack? It is, but it is full of clothes, yes. And it's,
It's
actually
full
not even that big.
of other backpacks.
Yes, multiple. He's carrying all of our backpacks.
Yeah.
For us.
That's why it's so big.
Yeah.
That's why he has, and it gets bigger because we keep adding more backpacks.
And then
Yeah.
when the one guy finally does turn that they have on a rope to a snail, the other guy, the way he eats him is so crazy. He's like, I want to try this one raw.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They were just having the time of their
You were
life.
really
He
having fun.
climbs in the shell.
And he
He
talks about it
climbs.
later. He was like, that rule.
You guys gotta try it. We gotta find another snail person.
He was just like, yeah, he crawled into
He
that.
was like,
I thought like,
Everyone's
oh,
like,
is he
get
like,
out of there. I want save some for me.
yeah.
I thought like, oh, is the snail gonna like turn him into something? Like, no, he was just eating them.
Me too. I thought he was getting sucked in there, but he was just like loving. He like loved it too much that
Yeah,
he
a little
almost
too
went
much.
mad. Yeah.
He
Um,
did go mad. They all went mad for
they
that
did,
snail
yeah.
juice.
And then they're also saying that, and everybody goes mad for a little snail juice from time to time. And they were saying that time
Cody's face.
is also moving differently.
Yeah, because when they get back, the
Well,
guy's
not even then yet at that point, because before they get back,
It's-
the brother does turn full snail.
He goes full. I felt bad.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
I felt a little sad, I guess, but then I really did kind of believe that she was going to be able to save him.
I thought, oh, they're leaving, and when you leave the town, it'll undo any of the effects on you. And he's just-
Oh.
Because we saw that with the horns.
Mhm.
Yeah, they just had to leave the house.
They just had to leave the house. So I'm like, maybe he just has to leave the mountain. And I don't know. Maybe he'll be a human again. I don't know.
Yeah, she puts him down the
Lead.
what is it, the ledge. She's like, be free. And he's like,
Yeah. And then he wiggles away. And,
And
then
they're
they
just like,
go
we're
back.
gonna eat that. We're gonna find him.
Yeah.
We're gonna eat him. We will eat that snail.
of course we will. You think we won't find him?
The
You
reason
think
I
we won't
said
find that snail?
the reason I said time moves different on the mountain though is because she looks down at her watch and the hands of the watch are like spiraling and she's like, I don't know what time it is. And then they get back and
Like, why would she need to know? What has she got going on?
Well, we might have school tomorrow.
yeah, honestly, probably.
Spiral high.
Yeah, at Spiral High. But when they get back, they notice that those buildings, those old shacks that they were talking about expanding, have now been completely expanded into. They have all connected and are making. And I want you to guess what they're making. 3, 2, 1. A spiral.
Uzumaki.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they both worked.
Yeah. And it sort of does look like a labyrinth. I think this chapter is even called Labyrinth or something like that. And it's created this like sort of maze. And the guy who had the idea to expand them in the first place is there. And he's like grown a beard and he's like super old. And now the whole spiral that is almost complete, but not yet complete. And the reason it is like a maze is because it has unfinished gaps in it. So they're trying, now that they know they can't escape, they're trying to get to the center of the spiral to get to the pond, which is circling the pond.
Yeah, meantime, the anchor girl gets like just sucked away.
Yeah,
Like, she just gets
oh,
taken
yeah,
into
yeah,
a
yeah.
wall, like, bye, girl.
yeah, it was sort of like,
Yeah.
oh,
There she
they just
goes.
board up and they're just
And
like,
then there's
well,
just fast builders that
Yeah.
like in a building so fast that she can't get through. And basically they finally, the construction is complete. The shacks are now a complete spiral in surrounding this pond, and it causes a huge rumbling. It causes a huge rumbling to happen, and I guess that rumbling meant that it sucked all the people of the town who had shoved themselves in there and really packed themselves in there and become tangled people. It had just sort of like a toilet bowl. It like sort of flushed them all down the pond. I mean, it really was like a giant toilet.
Yeah.
They built a giant toilet.
Dude, and this the feeling of them just being like, we just have to go to the center, like, did add to the horror feeling of just being like, there's nothing left to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, maybe there's something down there, but just being like, it's either that or we just sit here.
Mm-hmm.
And it did feel like they were getting closer to solving this mystery, which at this point I was like, I have to know what is causing spirals.
Yeah.
I have to know. What could it possibly be?
Which I'm like, oh, I guess that makes sense. Doesn't really explain why spirals, though, but it does explain why everything else was spirals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they get to the center, and they find out that it's a giant, the pond is actually dried up, and there's this giant hole in the ground, and it's a spiral staircase that leads down to something. If you don't want the reveal, the mystery told to you, this is your warning. And if only there was some sort of sound to inform you in on the fact that if you don't want the reveal to be ruined, then the time to tune out would be now. But if you don't care, or if you already know what happens, then stay tuned. But if there was a sound,
what would it be?
Chef, that was Chef's kiss.
It was kind of like a snail talk.
I don't think I did not get that at all.
Spiral.
And you doing it again doesn't make me get it more.
Yeah, like the snail would talk like Slimy.
So they go down and they find out the reason why all this is happening.
When you get like some beautiful splash pages.
Oh really yeah, it's berserky.
Berserky, very berserky.
Oh, it could go for some berserky.
Yeah.
Berserky jerky, where we take your monsters and we make and chew on them. Monsters usually chew on you.
No, you roll out the behelots and then you smoke them and then they become berserky jerky.
Just a ball of a behelit?
A behelit and you roll it out.
I agree.
You
with
dry
you.
it.
We're trying to take it more.
Thank you. I just don't know why you would want a ball of meat and then have to roll it out into a stick.
Or I know how jerky's made. You jerky.
I do know how jerky's made, and it doesn't come from balls of meat.
Yeah. You jerk your meat.
That's what we were trying to get at.
Oh. Was that really, truly, honestly, 100% what you were trying to do?
I don't.
Because if you're going to make that airplane noise at me, if you're going to do the, he didn't get it.
I wasn't going to say
You better fucking admit.
But I did not. I didn't believe
What
that
a
she
bold
because she
fucking-
didn't say. I said it. She didn't say the conclusion.
What a bold fucking thing to do. God, Josh is a fucking idiot.
I said it before and I'll say it again on the podcast.
You did say it before. Anyway, the reveal is that underneath their city is a ancient spiral city. Yes.
And yeah, that was just the classic. I don't know what I thought was gonna. I don't know what I expected.
Exactly.
Oh my god!
And what it really is that like everything there is a spiral, and not only is it a spiral, the roads are
so fucking crazy. It's so crazy. Spiral.
And what do they find there? But spirals.
But so many of them.
A city of spirals.
Everything is a spiral.
We're not trying. Okay, we made a lot of jokes this episode, but it's amazing art. There was things that we were scared. Like I genuinely was like disgusted at, like the body horror and everything like that. But it's just like it's when you really get down to the nitty and gritty. It's all about the spirals, baby.
It really is all about the spirals. The roads are paved with the spiral corpses of the people who inhabited the town and who who have inhabited in the town before those people
for millennia.
Yes,
And like we don't know how long this has existed. Like
Yeah.
we don't know like how long it takes for each cycle, but like it just does this, and out of like it resents us for not looking at it, which I
and it
The
is a
attention
cycle.
thing.
The attention thing. It is a cycle that happens every 100 or so years, and that it's apparently a sentient or sort of like it's building itself, and it's not done building itself. Maybe it'll never be done building itself. Maybe it'll expand beyond.
who is done building themselves?
No one ever.
Oh, you should never be.
Keep working.
Be better
Yeah, every day.
for yourself,
For
not
you.
for anyone else.
Absolutely. Poetry snaps. And I mean that's the reveal. That's the reveal. But what is crazy?
It was horrifying, and especially that feeling of them just being like, "There's nothing to do."
Yeah, and I really did feel that helpless, hopeless dread.
Where
And-
where she's like, "What?" Like he's like, "I can't walk, by the way, because that guy knocked me down.
Yeah.
And I can't move my legs. I'm done. You need to go do something." And she's like, "I'm not leaving."
Well, you need to go because his legs are broken, and he's like, you need to go figure out what this thing is. Find the center of it.
And she finds her parents down there too.
She sees her parents in the road.
And she's like, "Oh, they've been long dead.
She's like, I forgot about him. No, the reader kind of did.
I got lost in the spiral."
I did. And he's like, you got to go find the center. You got to go find what this thing is all about. You got to figure out why this keeps happening. And she's like, no, I will never leave you. And she just literally, and again, I know we're making jokes. I did have fun, and it did leave me with a very strange feeling after. But she just lays down, and they wrap
And he
together.
like reaches his hand. Now they're both stretchy people.
Yeah.
And they just stare at each other, which they don't stare at the spirals.
Yeah.
So last act of defiance is because you get frozen in place.
Yeah.
They're never gonna look at the spirals.
And that is how the story ends. Also, just because I do want to save some time for a final thought, we were going to do a winner circle and all that, but for the sake of time, I don't think we're going to be able to this episode. But there's a bonus chapter, which is just about a similar thing happening in a city or town, but this time it's with a spiral in the sky that is
Like,
a
I
galaxy.
discovered a new galaxy, and the guy being like, "You discovered it? I discovered it."
Yeah, that part was so funny because after all of that, after the whole conversation, like mentally talking with Shuichi being like, yes, we found a new universe. I found a new universe.
Yeah. And he
Yeah.
like pulls out a knife. He's like, "I'll kill you if you like, so I can be the one to do it." He's like, "You can say you discovered it."
Yeah. Which I would have done too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you do you, dude. You need this more than me.
So I guess my big question about that is, did you guys feel like this was a alternate pitch for the start of the series, or did you feel like it was like the next cycle happening, or what was your interpretation of that extra chapter?
I thought it was an alternate take on having the story start.
Mm-hmm.
All because I mean, they were episodic in the beginning too.
Mhm.
I also can see how it is like it could be a thing of like, oh, those spirals, like what happens when they do, like what is when they're done building themselves? Do they consume the entire planet? If they did that, maybe those exist elsewhere,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
maybe like worlds and galaxies are being consumed by the galaxy's a spiral,
Yeah, and it turned a horror into a cosmic horror.
and it turned a spiral into.
Megan, what did you think that chapter was?
Again, it's like I think that it's like it could have fit anywhere in the story, like as just a short story, and then he tried to kill someone, and that was it. And then they got the rights to the universe spiral. Like
Yeah.
it just felt like that type to me. Like I didn't really read too much into it other than that.
I didn't either. I saw it as an alternate take on the story, and I'm glad it went the route it did as opposed to that, because I didn't see how much farther you could take it. But at the very end of the episode here, now that we've gone through everything, and we've done it pretty fast, but we're gonna try to keep it at 2 hours, which is long, I know. But final thoughts on Uzumaki, your experience. Maybe talk more about that feeling that you felt towards the end. If there's anything that you haven't said or want to say, or feel like you maybe wish you could let everybody watching and listening know, despite all the jokes, your feelings about this, what would they be?
I thought it was a pretty cozy horror story. because it's like if you read this alone, probably at night, probably would have been a different feeling too. But it's not that scary feeling after you watch something like, oh no, now I think there's someone in my closet.
Yeah.
It's more of just this like feeling of like, oh, imagine.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does that so good too. Like this made me want to read more of what he has to offer. Like I did like Shiver, and I think I do prefer the short stories versus
I
like
think
a
me
long
too.
format of the same characters, because it kind of did feel like a compilation of short stories put into these two characters that didn't really like mesh for me.
And they also didn't really have a boyfriend and girlfriend dynamic. I didn't feel like either.
No.
It felt like it was like, okay, and then it's like, what if the hair was spirals? If this was spirals?
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, you have to wrap up this story. It's like, story. Let me wrap it up.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have bought if they were like siblings more than they were like
They
in
had
a
a sibling.
relationship.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But I completely agree with you. I think Junji Ito, like at least in my experience, having only read this and Shiver, I think that Shiver is better because his creative and his wild imagination shines a little bit brighter in that format when he has that ability to like jump from story to story. His ideas and everything he did in that, even if they weren't scary, were so like unique and so like, I think we talked about it in that episode. Even it's like it's so hard to, I think, to make new horror. And I think he brings like this like freshness to this genre that I've never seen anywhere else. He's a master of it. The art is beautiful. There were really parts of Uzumaki that I loved, but I think I would have loved another short story series from him instead. Having said that, knowing how it ends, like I like that it ended on sort of some ambiguity, but also at the same time it gave us some sort of answer. I know we've made a lot of jokes and I know we've been silly about a lot of what happened, but I did think it was good. I thought it was easy to read, and it did give me a very strange feeling after. And it is something that I would highly recommend to people, especially if you are willing to maybe laugh at parts a little bit, but because there will be parts that you will appreciate, and there will be a lot that you'll take away from it, even if it is just that feeling of like this like uncomfortable strange.
I
feeling.
would compare the type of horror to the type of horror that was in Annihilation.
I could see that.
Because it's not like, oh no, is Annihilation gonna get me? It's more of just like, oh, this feels mentally disturbing.
I can see that.
Junji Ito, I mean, it reminds me of like a lot of like the Twilight Zone stuff, because it is like a mixture of comedy and a mixture of like, you know, like horror. Not so much body. I guess you do have some body horror and stuff, but it's like more psychological. And I feel like in Shiver, Uzumaki has a lot more crazy body horror scenes than I would say Shiver does. Like I thought. Would you agree?
I don't
To a
know,
certain
man,
extent.
because that Dreamer story was great. That guy looked crazy. He looked like a god hand, like a even crazier god hand member. The centipede guy.
Oh yeah, that was pretty nasty.
I mean, there was a lot of crazy body horror stuff in Shiver.
It reminded me the ending reminded me of this web comic. Like, this will only take a second, but it was just like this like really short web comic, and it's just a story about a guy who like gets like attacked by these like giant bugs, and they drag him to like an underground world, and they just eat him, and then they throw him into like a pond, and that regenerates him. And then they just do that to people, and they just eat him. They throw him back in, but every time they throw him in, it mutates him, and then it just shows he just like he just like explores the world that he's in, and he becomes like this insectoid man, and it's this whole like.
Did you say what it was called, or do you remember?
The reason I bring that up is so somebody can tell me the name of that. But it's like it's just a super short thing, but it's like that feeling. Very similar to it's like a dream-like horror story.
Yeah. I mean, I would say check it out if you haven't already. And if you have, then let us know what you thought about it. Let us know what you took away from it. Let us know what you really connected with in this story. It is good, and I want everybody who stuck around this long. And if you have, then you probably already know us well enough to know that we just like to have fun when we talk about things. But you will notice spirals all around you afterwards for like maybe the next hour.
What's funny is I didn't at all.
You didn't?
Sometimes something will happen when you're like, oh, I get what they say. Oh, I can see it. But I'm like, No, spirals are actually pretty rare. And
You know why I said that is because I saw one.
oh,
Yeah. And I was like, everywhere. You steal them everywhere. Fucking idiot. But I think it's a good read. It's an easy read. It's a good read. And like Cody said, it's a cozy horror. I do think it's worth your time. So let us know what you think about Uzumaki. And I think that's it, right? The only thing left to do now before we go is to shout out and thank our wonderful, beautiful, amazing. How many times are we going to say spiral in this little segment here? Our Patreon members.
Oh, I love you guys.
You guys do make us spiral, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm. Like I would step in front of a car for you guys.
Oh,
bring us up when we're feeling sluggish.
Oh, let's do it. Yeah. Let's do this. What you guys are doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a thing we do every time.
Oh no, but you guys are like going like it's like doing a thing for each chapter, right? So she's like, I would jump in front of a car. You're like, I would turn into you sluggish, right? So then I would say like, yeah, dude, if you guys were my babies, I'd want to put you guys right back up inside me.
Oh, nice.
Right? I went with this is the first one that came to my mind. I'm gonna go through the chapters again.
You guys never have a bad hair day.
Oh, no, you don't.
Okay.
You are our lighthouse, our shining light
in the darkness.
Oh, do the Jack in the Box one.
I already did that one.
Oh, jump in front of a car. You did. But maybe, yeah, fuck. The scar. You put me under a spell.
I like that, like, you say this.
Yeah, and then
like,
you
can just say it. You can just say it.
It just looked like you were looking for something.
I was.
Thank you.
Like, we would fall into a pit of spirals for you.
We would build an underground spiral city for you.
Yeah.
I would go.
For purposes.
Purposes.
Go up in your shell.
Oh. And we're going to actually end it on that one. Thank you to all our Patreon members. You guys make what we do possible, and you fill our hearts with joy and love, and we love all of you and appreciate all of you. And if you would like to become a Patreon member, and if you want to see that Patreon bonus episode we plugged at the beginning of the show, then all you got to do is go to patreon.com/volume1pod, where you'll get early access to all of our episodes 2 days ahead of time, especially even when we do bonus episodes. You'll get those early access to those videos as well, and you'll get access to our exclusive bonus Patreon podcast, Volume 1 Extra, where we do a lot of fun stuff. There's a preview of one of those episodes up now that you can check out and see if it's something that you'd like to see. And we're also just having more fun and just doing more, even anime and manga related and other things on that podcast as well. It's a lot of fun. And so access to those as well.
And if you're like, but I can't give money and be a member of the Patreon gang, you know what gang you could be a part of, Megan?
You could be part of the algorithm gang.
What? And how would you go about doing that?
You can comment anything you want. Period. Algorithm gang. Algae gang. And it's like a tip for us because it feeds into the algorithm and it helps us get Volume 1 out there. Back to you, Cody.
Megan.
Well, that was that we were supposed to let me finish some of it, but yeah.
But, you know, Cody.
Oh, and iTunes. We already said that part.
That's okay.
If you leave a review on iTunes, it'd really, really help us out because we do have haters, but we don't pay no mind to no haters.
And we definitely don't know who they are.
And,
okay, Cody.
And if you have social media, we have an Instagram at Volume 1 Pod. We have a Twitter, and we have a Discord. And we have a Facebook page. I don't know why I had to mention that. Yeah, I post on it every fucking time. It's fine. Join those things because we're going to start posting a lot of cool stuff on there.
Yes, all those things. And I think we covered all of our bases. Megan, thank you for really, wrapping it all up at the end there. The only thing we got to do now is to get out of here on our outro that is always the same and never changes, which today is, Megan.
Spy run, don't walk to read this manga.
Wow.
I'll do it.
I am a little on Cody's side right now. Where I'll do it.
I thought that was good.
Say what you said again.
You did.
Spy run, don't walk to read this manga.
It's like I thought you were gonna stop after the spy run, like spy run to read this manga, but you went spy run, don't walk. But if you do walk, don't run.
That's not what I said.
To read this manga.
That's not what I said.
You Oreo Speedwagon over there.
Last one to read this manga is a snail. It was a snail.
Why can't we just say like something with like I'm spiraling. Don't spiral out of control. I mean, mine wasn't great, but it wasn't, don't run, don't walk. The more I say it, the more I like it, actually.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, ready?
I mean, I don't want to like pressure you guys in anything you don't want to do, but
Man,
I just had a good one.
We got to get out of here before Megan loses her voice. So it's, just to be clear, it's spy run.
But you have to be you're going to say spiral. Spy run. Don't walk to read this manga.
Okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And until next time,
Spy run. Don't walk to read this manga.
And we did it. And nobody messed up.
That was interesting.
We all got it.
That one. Yeah.